podcasters have to say. You are here to police my thoughts, please.
People was a really interesting way of saying me, but I appreciate the subtle call-outs. I'm by no means a genius, but I definitely do have some comments about League of Legends, and I hope to see these players play in a way that at least introduces thought into the game that we really haven't been seeing from some of the players at Worlds, whether it's, you know, item builds, right? I believe LS calls the collector on ADs the Eastern Tramp Stamp, for example, or, you know, if we see the Graves, right, knowing when to go lethality or when to go Negan or tank Graves. I really think that, you know, as much as, you know, I've made fun of casters, and I appreciate, again, that little sub-tweet in voice, not a big deal. I think that players are also somewhat to blame, and I hope to see cerebral thought come out of the players here. So hopefully a combination where we can see good builds, good casts, and good analysis on games.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it's important here as well that we talk about how these guys are going to match up against each other, because today we've got some pretty big personalities in the jungle. My Kha'Zix Hover tells me a lot, but before we start breaking down Hovers, I want to talk about the RBM and Fanatiik matchup, because a lot of moving pieces are here in Amateur Arena, but a lot of it also comes down to the very individual level. How do you feel these junglers warp their individual teams, or may warp their individual teams?
Well, I think, to my knowledge, Fanatiik has pretty good experience with a wide variety of teams. He played Resolve this last year, and he's had a pretty good amount of competitive experience. He's usually more of like a team player, willing to drop certain camps just to look for a play if it's on a good gank timer, or hold waves, where RBM is much more of a cerebral farm style type jungler, in my opinion. You know, even though there's a Qiyana lock-in, so, you know, we'll get into that later, where I think he'll be playing a different theme this game, but he really has very good standard, like, first two clears. That's one thing. If you look into the games he plays, his first two clears are very, very standard, where he usually just gets like a 1 to 2 camp advantage over the enemy jungler, just prioritizing his pathing and whatnot. And then he really starts freestyling on like the third and fourth clear, where he gets like really unique gank angles. He'll drop a camp to go and find a good gank timer. But overall, he's a pretty good player. It might change a little bit with the Qiyana, where he looks for a bit more aggressive plays in the first or second clear, but maybe not, because again, even though Qiyana is, you know, traditionally seen as an assassin, she's obviously being played with the Gore Drinker Sterix build, as we've seen in Worlds. So, you know, you'll see, I think, kind of atypical form of Qiyana from what you used to see.
Okay, I'm excited to see it. Speaking of atypical, though, I can't help but think that this first round of the draft, I would say for both teams, has gone pretty atypical. Both locking in what I am assuming is the same lanes in both jungle, AD, and mid.
Yeah, I mean, so normally I would say Vex is a flex, but we usually see Lucian go into the bot lane now, especially with the enchanters, where he's a lot stronger with his passive change recently. Again, Lucian Nami was rising in popularity. I think Freak just had a tweet today about Airy Nami versus Electrocute Nami, where, you know, he thinks Airy is better. Airy is better the majority of the time than Electrocute. Electrocute is usually just a feel-good rune, but if you actually look at what does more over the course of a game, Airy will usually be better. Anyways, besides the point, Vex isn't necessarily flexible here. You know, Vex is just a really good pick into not just the LeBlanc, but into the LeBlanc Qiyana. So it really gives her, it's like a single pick that will counter both the mid and jungle, which usually gives your team the advantage in the mid jungle 2v2. Especially when you have an Olaf kicker, you want to be active in the early game, which I think the Vex Olaf will open itself up to. However, the red team does need to be a little bit careful, where Vex does scale relatively well, but Olaf and Lucian is really, really like hard early game. So we'll have to see how they pivot to trying to getting into a more mid-range comp where they, you know, don't open themselves to getting outscaled in the second phase here.
You know, you brought up pretty early in that point the Nami that tends to be paired with Lucian, and I saw them avoid it in the first phase, and I was a little bit confused. Now going with the Rakan instead, this is going to be for Pockus. Is this like, how do you feel about the sort of Rakan pick here when you did have the Nami available?
I actually like the Rakan a lot. It's a Pockus special. I don't think Pockus would be the most comfortable on something like the Nami. So when drafting, there's two things, or there's a lot of things you have to be mindful of, right? How does your champion interact with the enemy team, interact with your team? But then beyond that, right, what is your player comfortable with playing, and can you pick... Wow, okay. Sorry, the Zyra.
yeah.
I really like the Zyra, actually, and I actually tweeted at the person playing it, so... Anyways, besides the point, but you have to be like, you have to remember, you know, what does your support play, or what's your players play, and is it going to be good? The Rakan, again, with the Lucian, not the most optimal, but given the player who's on the Rakan, you might get more value out of it than picking what would be considered optimal in this position.
Now, I don't know if you thought it was optimal or not, but I do think that we need to talk about the Zyra, because Zyra Misfortune is a terrifying lane to go into. Whether you're on Lucian, Rakan, no matter how comfortable you are, that's a scary thing to try and lane against.
Yeah, well, so I actually really like the Zyra pick, because you have a Lucian, Olaf, Vex, Rakan, and then it's Srtty, who usually doesn't play ranged top laners, but he can. I think he's played like Vayne and Akshan. Or I know he's for sure played Vayne in this amateur arena. So he is a flexible player, but you know, usually top laners will be melee. But this Zyra, I think, will do really cool things in team fights, where she'll lay down the ulti once the enemy team starts engaging onto her, and what it can do to the red team is just separate their front line from the back line. So she's really just trying to create like two separate fight lines, basically, where her team can just focus on the front line, ignore the back line that gets cut off from her ulti, and just make it so you can whittle down the front and then win the fight from there. The person playing it, I believe, is Winter, who has come out on Twitter and said that he does really like the pick, and I asked him if it was actually good, because I think Zyra is a champion that hasn't been played a lot, but it's just a champion that's been forgotten about, but I think can produce value that people forget about. Zone control is a very potent thing in this game, right? Why is Ashe so good? Why is Misfortune so good? They just have massive areas of effect where you can't step into them, right? Zyra does a very similar thing, right? She has a root, she has a Q, but beyond that, her plants will stay. It won't let people get in necessarily. And then if you do try and engage onto her to make her weak, she does get to put down an ulti, and the fight just gets very hard to fight. I really like the Zyra personally. You'll have to see how the cooldowns work in lane against Rakan. Like, for example, when I bring up cooldowns, a really traditional counter that people think of is Thresh counters Leona, when in reality, if you go the cooldown rune on Leona in lane, you can actually get your E up faster than you can Thresh play. So all you do is just E in, force Thresh play, then all you say is, okay, dope, I got your E cooldown, then you just wait for the cooldown to come back, and then you have a window that the Thresh isn't able to play around, right? So I'm not sure exactly what Zyra's cooldowns are relative to Rakan's. If the E cooldown is shorter than Rakan's, then massive leg up with the MS Zyra in the blue team draft. I mean, but again, I'm not sure.
That's exactly, I mean, I don't know that stuff, so perfect. Thank you for the enlightenment, because honestly, the sort of cooldown game is one that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. Casper, please inform us of how the cooldowns end up going down. However, we've got other stuff to talk about as well, because you did mention zone control, and there's actually quite a lot of it on blue side. I mean, I'd sort of included Kiana's potential to control zones alongside that, and I want to know, with a composition that has a lot of that ability to keep you out of areas, to perhaps arrive first to objectives, what on the other side does red side do very well?
You know, it's funny you ask that. I'm not a big fan of red team's draft. So I think red team finds it really difficult to actually realistically fight into blue team. So really, if you are red team, what you're really telling yourself is, how can we get to the objective to disable the enemy comp as much as possible? Now, I say as much as possible because if you do start the objective first, then you run the risk of having Kiana ulti your team in the river, which is a massive ulti in the river. You run the risk of having Misfortune come on top, right? It's very hard for red team to find a way to win. What you're really trying to do is say, okay, we got top lane counter pick on the Aatrox. If we make the game so unplayable for that top side, and we can just drive such a large value out of the top side, then we can find a way to win by forcing the enemy team to go and answer the top side, while you can then try and open up the bot side while they're forced to answer the Aurelia. I really think that's what you're looking for. I expect to see Olaf path bot to top here. I don't think you should be seeing any invades necessarily. You might see Olaf do something a little bit crazy, but I'm not anticipating anything crazy. But I think, again, it's, can we get this Aurelia so far ahead of this Aatrox that the Aatrox can't play the game, and then can that Aurelia use that lead and leverage that lead to open up the game for the rest of her team? With that said, red team does have a good amount of terrain scaling, where the Lucian can E, the Rakan can E, and W, the Vex can ulti to people and whatnot. So there is a good way to answer some of the mobility that you see out of blue team, but I think Red Team will find it a little bit difficult if they don't come out of the early game ahead.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how their draft ends up playing out, especially with the Vex, who is very new to competitive, and there are a lot of like small interactions that I've yet to see. But you make a really good point about the top lane, and I want to sort of take that and sort of throw us into the game off of that. With that in mind, that on the red side, Aurelia is going to be a big part of this. Srtty and Gamsu was the matchup yesterday, and Srtty got the Fiora a few times and actually managed to do quite well, and it was really good in the split push. I'm curious to see what that same thing will carry through to today when Gamsu is also taking what is a very equally aggressive pick. The Aatrox definitely wants to do well in lane, so we throw it forward with a few questions. Casters are going to answer them once we hit the Rift. Thank you for tuning into Amateur Arena, and we'll be back on Summoner's Rift in just a few minutes.
Bye.
Yeah, so it's probably, what is it, 20?
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Amateur Arena presented by AOE. We are loaded up onto the Rift for this game number 1. My name is Gordo. I am joined tonight by Fury, and we are going to get to see, among other things, a nice little debut of the Vex here for a little bit of competitive action.
I'm very excited with the Vex. Once the LeBlanc was picked in, I was excited to see maybe just a TF to come through behind that, but instead Leo locking in the Vex. A pretty nice pick into not only the LeBlanc, but also this Kiana that we're probably going to be seeing roaming around the map quite a bit with these dodges. And then they're going to be, coming through, just going to get marked every single time someone dashes. Leo probably going to have a pretty good time on the Vex. We'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely. Should have... is always capable of getting harassed by LeBlanc early on, but should be able to return some of that damage every time she goes in for the distortion. And once she has that passive up, can use the personal space to interrupt that dash, stick her back down on the ground, and make sure that she's not actually going to be able to get the traits that she's looking for. And interrupting a LeBlanc combo like that can actually be so influential as to how she actually goes through a trade, considering you're always looking to get procs on that Sigil of Malice to amplify your damage, and might not be expecting to get knocked out of that distortion and the timings where Vex can actually manage to do so.
Exactly. LeBlanc thriving on those full combos being landed. Leo doing some nice damage in the mid there, but if Yunbee's not able to get full combos out of LeBlanc, you're not doing, what LeBlanc is intended to do, and that's go in, get a full combo off, burst someone down to 0 health, and be able to dash back out very easily. But Leo on the Vex could have stopped that hyperbolic top.
Gamsu's just having a time in the top lane there, going to trade flashes up against Srtty up there, zoning him off some of the first few minions and just landing every single sweet spot on every one of those Qs. The Darkened Blade going to force Srtty to take a little bit of a back foot here, and with no flash available for either, and Srtty at much lower HP, as well as being the second one to reach level 2, he's going to have to play incredibly carefully up there in that top lane.
Yeah, Srtty down a little bit in the CS, should close that gap just a little bit with the help of the Aurelia reset on the Q on this wave coming through, but Gamsu having a very good time up in top lane to start here on this Aatrox. Both flashes blown, let it be known about that, so they are pretty susceptible to any ganks if one does decide to come through from Fanatiik or RBM. Bot lane, though, getting pushed in pretty hard here by Array and Winter, and something of note, we saw the Lucian get picked, and I'm sure everybody thought it was going to be the Nami pickup, but instead, no, Pockus decides to go for the Rakan, and I can't imagine they're going to be having a fun time into the MF Zyra combo.
Oh, there's going to be the Grand Entrance on top of the side of Array, going to add a little bit of damage on across to that Misfortune. We did follow up on what Dia and Incon were talking about in the analyst desk as we were drafting here. The Zyra E cooldown, 12 seconds. The Rakan W and E goes down with rank, but is, until max rank, always going to be less than 12 seconds. We should expect Winter to have those windows that Incon was talking about, where you could force out some of these mobility abilities from Pockus and get some damage back. But Pockus finding opportunities anyway, going in for the Grand Entrance here. And meanwhile, Gamsu is getting dove. Fanatiik has come on up here. First blood going to get picked up for Srtty, despite his unfortunate trades in the early game. He is going to be able to pick up that kill, and it's just like that, 2-0 in favor of the red side.
A very nice setup on that early dive there by Srtty and Fanatiik there. Not expected on the Aatrox as well. That kind of caught me off guard, but now we're going to see Srtty gaining a nice little lead for himself. Backing, picks up that Iron Spike Whip, going to come back 10 CS up here. Not going to use the TP either, just going to walk back to lane, whereas we do see Gamsu using that TP.
Yeah, going to be a little bit more of an advantage over to the side of Srtty. Their flashes are going to be pretty equal on when they're coming back up there. Only one kill actually picked up for the red side there. Not sure why the scoreboard is displaying it too, but that should be just fine. So we can see Yunbee still taking a lot of damage here from Leo. Every time he dives on in, that Gloom passive getting procced to make sure that you can keep LeBlanc on the back foot there and punish her every time she goes in for one of these distortions. There it goes again, as she does manage to land the chain, but not going to proc the Sigil.
Yeah, I think you might be having that unfortunate spectator bug where everything gets doubled. I'm sure your gold probably looks doubled as well, but hopefully we'll be able to work through that. But one kill picked up early here. Nice little influx of gold going over to Srtty as well as Fanatiik. Mid lane here, Yunbee going in, getting some nice damage off of Leo. And you were talking about those flashes in the top lane, what we kind of caught the tail end of. RBM going mid, Yunbee and Leo both flashing at the same time. So those flashes are going to be down as well. And Srtty getting prepped up for a 3v3 topside.
Yeah, 3 members of each team coming on up here. It is going to be Srtty up in the front a little bit here, going to take a little bit of damage from the Zyra, but knows he has the backup of his teammates. Fanatiik coming on in along with Pockus. The Grand Entrance going to land onto the side of Gamsu here. He is going to be the target for all 4 members, getting taken incredibly low. It is going to be the first one to fall. Srtty going to once again pick up that kill, going up to 2-0 on this Irelia. Called out by the analyst desk there. They want to play through top lane. They want to get Srtty rolling, and he certainly is, sitting at 2-0 in the top lane. Meanwhile, the 1 versus 1 in the bottom lane. Wixxi going for the 1v1 up against Array here. Doesn't quite manage to finish it off. Gets himself exhausted, but that's going to be a summoner spell advantage. Meanwhile, the dive in top lane, not going Srtty's way here, trying to get himself out of there, but he is going to end up falling down. Shut down. Picked up for Winter there on the Zyra.
Srtty maybe underestimating the damage. His bot lane.
So close to being Array falling down, but he does not go. He has to flash. Going to be another trade of summoner spells, but he does manage to escape. And now Fanatiik and Yunbee going at it as well. There's action all over the map here.
An absolute bloodbath so far, even though only 3 kills on the board. Still a lot of fighting. This is definitely going to be a play-by-play match for sure. You have to carry me through this cast here, Gordo. But a very nice, just little bit of, I guess, action going on early here. Srtty underestimated his damage in the top side. Meanwhile, in the bot, Array and Wixxi just going at it there, getting dangerously close to falling. The only difference, Wixxi still has that flash available. Now, Dragon gonna get picked up here first by the red side. That's gonna be the Infernal Drake, a nice bit of more damage. That's gonna be going over to them for these trades that continue to happen across the map.
Yeah, for sure. I can keep up with the play-by-play. Just don't trust anything I have to say about gold totals here. Is getting a little bit bamboozled by Riot, but that's going to be just fine. As now Spurge has the wave up here. He's going to be crashing this into the top lane up against Srtty here. Just has to play on the back foot here a little bit. Might be looking to call up RBM to try to get the shutdown here once again onto the side of Srtty. They already picked him up once off the back of that botched dive earlier on. Now going to once again be grouping up around there, making sure that they can't keep sending 3, 4, 5 members up the top lane to gate Gamsu down. They want to make sure to stop that snowball wherever possible.
Yeah, that's something, like you said, they talked about on the analyst desk. Dia and Incon talked about the fact that this game really is going to be played through the top side. Gamsu and Srtty both playing very, very late scaling champions that just become unkillable beasts. And it really just comes out to whoever is stronger coming out of laning phase is going to have the dictation over the way this game goes. Now, Aurelia has really good skirmishing, but once Aatrox gets an item and a half, he's going to have a lot of sustain in his kit to stay alive for these extended trades if he's able to skirt around any kind of skill shots that come through from Srtty, like on the Flawless Duet.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen it in the 1 versus 1 in the bottom lane as the supports have been roaming around the map. It has continuously been Wixxi pressuring onto Array here, forcing out those summoner spells. Still going to be down for the time being. It is going to be the flash advantage over to the side of Wixxi, although Winter still has his, whereas Pockus has been forced to expend that. So going to be 1 flash for each bottom lane, but keeping it on the Lucian certainly going to be critical here if any ganks do come about or any full-on engages happen. Does appear to be Pockus just waiting in the wings here in the river, looking for a potential opportunity to dash on in and get an engage here. But the damage from this Zyra MF duo is not to be underestimated.
Yeah, I was going to say, he might be a little bit too far back there. I think if we see Wixxi get rooted up, I mean, we're just going to see so much damage come through from Array. It might be too late for Pockus to get in there to try to save him. So he's looking to get back around here now that the wave is pushing under tower. RBM is rotating to the bot side as well. We may see a dive coming through. He is level 6. All champions level 6 in the bot lane except for Pockus. It looks like RBM is just going to back off after getting spotted on that vision ward.
Yeah, not going to be able to pull off that gank there. So nicely played by Wixxi and Pockus, managing to call out that gank with the ward well in advance, knowing that it's coming and being able to avoid it as a result. Now Fanatiik hanging out in this ping brush. He is going to run into RBM here. Should get some nice damage across from the undertows. That's going to be the ultimate landed from the Vex. RBM taking incredibly low here. So far has not fallen down though, is just sitting at... No, he's definitely fallen down. My spectator client is just bugged out for sure, right?
Yeah, it definitely. I think, what, you just have a T-posing Kiana on your screen right now? Yeah, Leo blew him up with that Shadow Surge that came through. Fanatiik using the Ghost to help get that just extra movement speed, make sure RBM is unable to get away. Does pop the Ragnarok as well, so that's something to take into account if another fight were to open up soon he wouldn't have it, but it's already almost halfway done. So pretty low cooldown on the Olaf early on. Yunbee looking to maybe get some poke here in the 1v2.
Yeah, absolutely here. It's going to just be the recall coming on across from the red side. I'm just switching what stream I'm watching here so that I'm not getting misled anymore by the client. No,
yeah, I
shouldn't have to worry about that one anymore. As we're going to see Yunbee and RBM are moving up here towards this Rift Herald, looking to get this one started up, clearing out the vision, and going to be aggroing that purple crab for the time being. They want to pick up this eye, get a little bit of gold back into their pockets as the gold lead is over in favor of Fanatiik's squad for the time being. A lot of that being held up in Srtty's Aurelia, who's having a great time farming in this top lane ever since getting put ahead.
Yeah, was pretty far down very early on in the game, now up 30 CS and still free farming now, but Rift Herald going to be picked up by RBM immediately, heading down into the bot side of his blue and back into the bot side of the map because we do have a dragon coming up in 30 seconds here. That's going to be the Ocean Drake, so Soul will either be the mountain or air. I imagine we're going to have a nice fight around this dragon because Ocean, pretty popular among players trying to get that picked up, and especially when you have something like an Olaf on one side and a Aatrox on the other, you're wanting as much sustain as you possibly can.
Yeah, it's going to be Srtty crashing a big wave in this top lane. Should maybe give him a little bit of a timer to teleport down here if that's what he's looking for, although he's just hungry for these turret plates, wants to keep stacking up that gold advantage, going to take that 160 gold right there. Going to get pulled back in, though. Gamsu getting a good trade here, knocks him down to about half HP. Keep that in mind is how that's going to influence this potential dragon fight. Both sides coming on down here at least a little bit, but the numbers advantage does seem to be in favor of the red team. Fanatiik going to clear out some vision along with his support Pockus, and they might just get this one started up.
Yeah, Yunbee coming in, closing up the gap in the top side here. Could be looking to go for a pincer, but nobody really moving at the moment here. We're going to see Gamsu take a back. Srtty clearing out that wave. Looks like he's going to take a back as well. Nobody really hovering around this dragon, but they are moving into the mid lane. As this dragon is starting to get pulled out now by the red side.
RBM taking some poke there from Leo. As this Vex starts to get some items in her pockets, there's going to be a lot of damage to actually be dealt out there from those long-range Qs, especially when combined with the W to apply Gloom, can really get a lot of damage across really quickly out of nowhere. Red team going to be able to pick up that dragon. Now the engage coming on through as well from that grand entrance. It is going to be Winter, caught out, taken down. Now here comes a big bullet time over the wall, chunking out Leo, but not managing to take him all the way out here. It's going to be Yunbee coming in for the collapse, trying to get anybody that they can. Leo flashes over the wall to keep alive. Pockus going to join him with the grand entrance, and that's going to be a clean escape from Fanatiik's squad, picking up the dragon, getting a kill, and getting out.
Yeah, that is the main thing, is the fact that they were able to get out on top of getting that dragon. They looked a bit sketchy for them. They're relatively low. We do have the Rift Herald pushing into this tower as well, and they are going to pick up the first turret with it. Not going to follow up and look for any kind of kills. A little bit low on mana, no ultimates available, and not a whole lot of summoners up. So they're just going to take the gold from that tower and back off. They're only down about 800 gold at the moment, despite being down 3 kills and 2 drakes. But that tower is going to keep them safe for now, as they are going to open up the map here. We'll probably see a little bit of roaming coming through from Array and Winter, try to get themselves a few more kills and some more gold under their belts here. But the big thing is that Leo is kind of doing what he needs to do. Yunbee on this LeBlanc is wanting to constantly look for fights, but without being able to distort, without getting yourself procced and immediately getting feared, it's a very hard feat to go into a Vex as this LeBlanc, and that's really showing at about 14.5 minute mark here.
Yeah, and keeping Yunbee pushed in has done a lot for that issue as well. You know, getting to this point where plates have now fallen, LeBlanc is sitting at 0-0-0. That's a pretty good win facing off against this heavily snowballing assassin mid laner. And meanwhile, in the top lane, still, it's going to be a large CS lead for Srtty. He's already finished off that Gore Drinker, has the Executioners as well. Is in a great position to face off against Gamsu here. And it looks like the blue side has realized that and are instead going to send Yunbee up there to at least hold the wave, clear it out, stop the side of Srtty from taking too much damage up against this top lane turret. But the 1v1, feeling pretty bad here for Gamsu, and he's going to try to move out of it.
Yeah, not only that, but Yunbee needs to be careful up on the top side as well. We've seen the way that Srtty's been playing all game. He's been diving Gamsu on repeat, and I doubt he'd have any quarries with diving LeBlanc, who is much, much swishier doesn't have as much inner tankiness as Gamsu does on this Aatrox. So definitely needs to be playing it safe up there, Yunbee. We do see a TP coming from Leo into the top side to match Yunbee. So it looks like they're just going for a full rotation. It looks like everybody's just kind of sitting in the mid while the solo laners are off in just basically swapped into top and bot.
Yeah, RBM going to face check into Fanatiik once again here. He's just going to pop the Ragnarok, looking to take this 1 versus 2 with the help of his Undertow, and he's going to do it. Taking down Winter there, knows how squishy this Zyra is, knows he can just rip through her with the axes and with those E's, and manages to do so. Another kill going over to Fanatiik here, 3-0 and 2 on the Olaf. He's just smurfing it, and he's going to move on towards this mid lane turret now, as the red team looks to claim their first tower of the game.
Yeah, very nice pick for Fanatiik. Does still have the Ghost. It looks like they may look for a dive, but a TP coming in mid from Yunbee.
Yeah, trying to collapse onto Array there. Don't really manage to get anything. Instead, just lose a bunch of their health to the turret and the bullet time. The collapse is coming through from the blue squad. Gamsu manages to catch them all out here with the Scryer's Bloom. Yunbee going to look for the stun. Not going to quite find it. Does get the snare there on to the side of Srtty. He's going to be forced to flash away. The cutoff coming through from RBM. Looking for a big supreme display of talent here. Finds them. Is going to go on in. That's going to be a 2-man stun coming on through. Pockus going to be the first one to melt on down. The escape attempt is coming on through from the red side. Now they know they can't take this fight, but it's going to be Wixxi falling on down to LeBlanc as well. Fanatiik going to be the next one to join them as a shutdown gets picked up for the side of Gamsu, and the blue side strikes back here, catches the red team over diving, chases them across the map, and picks themselves up 3 kills.
Not only that, but Srtty still going in onto Winter here, but here comes RBM.
Ooh, he does manage to turn it around, though, in the 1 versus 1. Gets Winter, and now is facing off against RBM. Not going to be able to keep the miracle going, though. Ends up falling down there. It becomes a 4-for-1, all said and done. But you will take that all day, every day on the blue side.
Yeah, 100%. What went from a pick onto Winter ends up being 4 kills into the pockets of the blue side here off of a very, very nice chase. It looked like that red side was going to get out, but RBM able to get around into the front of them with a great supreme display of talent, able to get the 2 stun, 2 kills, and then following up right after that, able to chase down Winter, pick himself up another kill there for himself. The only issue here that I'm seeing is it technically was a 4-for-2 because Winter died to start off that fight, and then Winter died ending off that fight. So 2-4 all in all.
For sure here is now Fanatiik.
What's happening with audio?
In this bush, trying to keep up his old ways. He's gotten multiple pickoffs this game from just sitting in a bush waiting for RBM to come into him. Has done a great job of tracking the opposing jungler on that front, but it is going to be Pockus getting caught out in the bottom lane, tries to create an entrance away, but just finds himself face-to-face with more blue members with the re-engage coming on through from the red side. They're going to melt right on through Gamsu. He does not get to reach it back up with the Gore Drinker or with the ultimate, just going to end up falling on down. A supreme display of talent lands on a 2. Leo taking incredibly low. He's likely to fall down here, flashes away from the engage, but is going to fall on down to the side of Array. Now it's a 4-on-4 rather, a 1-4-1 so far, as Pockus going to try to dash away, but going to get burned down by the red buff. It's going to be RBM picking up that kill. It's a 3 versus 4 now. The blue team looking to pick up their first dragon of the game. RBM running interference here, keeping them out, but that's going to be Winter falling on down to the culling. A bunch of damage coming through from Wixxi as he's looking to carry this fight. Srtty jumps forward, finishes off onto RBM. The red team can reclaim this fight here. They get themselves the dragon, they get themselves the kills, and they get back on away.
This game is so back and forth. Just when you think one team is ahead, the other team comes right back in with an excellent play for themselves. Red team off the back of a bad play. Blue very low in the middle of that fight. Yunbee and RBM, 2 big players in there that really need to be the ones that stay alive in that, end up falling down very early. RBM especially, no smite to help take out that dragon. Ends up going to the red side. Now 3 Drakes in their pocket. We'll see if they're able to grab the 4th for the soul coming up in about 4.5 minutes here. Baron is going to be spawning in 25 seconds. I'm not sure either team really has the damage to go after it right away, but I'd imagine that's going to be the next point of contention over on the top side of the map here, as we do have Gamsu and Winter up top now, trying to maybe just phase off Vex, get her to back off so they can take this tower.
All right, it is going to be a move away here from the red side. They're not going to contest for the scuttler for the time being. That's going to be Srtty going for the 1 versus 1 once again. Talked about his ability to burst through Yunbee here. That's going to force him to use the distortion to escape. just nobody can really 1v1 this Irelia at this point. Srtty is a menace in the side lane, and the blue side needs to find ways to get favorable fights like they found previously to keep on happening, as otherwise Srtty's just going to keep out-muscling them.
No, absolutely. Srtty is becoming just kind of unstoppable. 5-2-1 at this point. Has the full Gore Drinker, has Executioner's Calling to help take out Gamsu. Speaking of Gamsu, he's getting jumped on now.
Yeah, it's a 3 versus 3 up here at the top of the top river. It's going to be Gamsu leading the charge there along with RBM, but they are going to end up backing away. They can claim this Baron vision. That's all they really need at the end of the day. RBM jumps over the wall, comes face-to-face with Fanatiik here, who once again is going to go for those combos of undertows. Does have the backup this time, though. They're going to end up trading pretty equally, about a third or a quarter of their HP bars each. Now they're just going to back on away. Meanwhile, Blue Turk going to fall on down there. That's Srtty in the side lane, making his presence known, getting some of that gold for his team and for himself.
Yeah, that was really just a massive jockey for vision around the top side here that could have opened up to a fight at any point in time where Srtty could have TP to it. The very smart on his team not to immediately go in for a fight, kind of just play around, poke, back off when they can, to allow Srtty to continue that push in the bot lane, clear out the wave, grab himself another tower. Still up almost 40 CS at this point over Gamsu. So they need to do something to shut down this Irelia for sure. They need to get Winter with just a nice ultimate, maybe around a team fight, because once that happens, once they shut down this Irelia, it's going to be very hard for the red side to continue on with a fight, because that's where most of their damage is coming from. Vex still a very big source of that damage, but only has Leandries with the Zonias.
Srtty now finishing off that Sterix gauge, going to be even tankier now coming through in these fights. A snare landed in the river by Yunbee, but it's only on to Fanatiik, not going to be a target you're really going to be sticking too much damage to and that you're looking to burst out to start off the fight. Instead, just going to end up backing away there off the back of their little trade. They're going to ebb and flow the vision in their favor, pick up some pink wards, pick up some green wards, dish out around this Baron pit. With the dragon still down, neither side wants to end up giving over that big purple worm to any kind of sneaky moves from the other side. RBM moving in to clear out the vision now, as you do. Meanwhile, the mid priority gained for the blue side here. They're looking to try to push down at least a little bit of damage onto this turret, but they have to watch out about getting engaged now.
Right, exactly. Not only that big purple worm, but we have Soul Point, or just Soul in general, coming up in 1 minute and 10 seconds. Both of those teams are going to be wanting to vie for that. Now, Red can give a little bit of leeway and give that up while they go for the Baron, or they can immediately run for it head on and maybe give up Baron for the Soul this early on. Baron, 23 minutes onto a team that isn't the strongest at this point. Wouldn't be the worst for them, but it's not something you ever want to give up, right? You want to be able to have full control over all the neutral objectives on the board, but everybody's going to be backing at this point. 40 seconds for the Soul. It looks like they're going to be moving back down into the bot side.
Yeah, the red team's actually got a pretty good team composition for that Cloud Soul this time around. The Ragnarok and the Quickness come to mind as abilities that really do benefit from being able to get that additional movement speed on cast, you know, and culling for Lucian, not bad with it either. Should be at least decently prioritizing the ability to get that soul, though we'll see what they go for. That's going to be the engage coming through from RBM. Lands a two-man stun there off the supreme display of talent, but it's not enough to take out Wixxi, and instead the turnaround coming on through. Fanatiik going to pick up the kill onto RBM. Now it's going to be Winter falling on down as well. The dive from Srtty is so strong as he claims himself a double kill. Is just tanking up the turret like it's not even there. Regenerating everything back through the minions, and off of a 3-for-0 fight, the red team could just start up the Baron. They can get the soul. They can get everything.
Yeah, it's a massive turnaround for Red Team off of what looked like a very good pick onto Wixxi. Able to flash and heal, turn back around, and help get a kill. But still pretty low. He needs to be careful, as we do see Gamsu and Yunbee looking for any kind of exit kills that they can around this Baron.
Yeah, they managed to pick up a kill there on to Wixxi, but it is going to be the chase over the wall. Pockus going to end up going down as well to Gamsu. They're kind of taking this fight in the 2 versus 5, but now finally going to have their fates turned around on them. Gamsu going to fall on down to the side of Fanatiik. Yunbee now the last man standing as his teammates have already respawned. The red team wants to commit to this Baron, though. Instead, Yunbee's just trying to slow this down as much as possible. He's going to get picked off there finally by the side of Leo, and now the Baron going to end up falling on down. They're trying to get out of here with the enhanced recall. Srtty stepping forward to protect his friends as they recall, is going to manage to do so, but now he's stuck in a 1 versus 2, trying to run away from RBM here. Nobody can manage to slow him down too much, though. It's really only a little bit of burning damage there from the side of RBM. He's going to be able to clear out the Wraith camp, and he's going to escape as well.
Srtty able to save his team from getting their back stopped as they're able to go back down to the bot side and contest for this air Drake. Doesn't become a martyr though, as he does just manage to get out alive with a little bit of poke onto him, but nothing that he can't just heal back up with a few Qs, right? This dragon is going to be getting started up. Everybody is on the bot side now, so if a fight were to open up, it'd be another pretty big one, but it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing blue side contest this soul, and that's just going to be given over to free onto the red side.
Yeah, a big win there. They're going to collect themselves the soul. They still have the Baron on 3 members. They are fully in control of the map here with almost a 4K gold lead. They're going to look to try to finally knock down this mid-outer turret. It's been evading them thus far. Instead, we're going to get a little bit of a pause. We're going to come right back into it.
That was the quickest pause I've ever been a part of, thankfully, but I am getting a little bit of a client bug where I am still kind of frozen. Right now, just with a little bit of a lull, still a tower in the top side. We are seeing Yunbee up top there trying to finish off that tower, get his team just a little bit more goal in their pockets so they can sustain themselves a little bit better. Bot side, we are seeing Gamsu trying to just kind of hold off that wave that's pushing, but as you can see on the map there, Rakan, Olaf, and Aurelia all sitting towards the bot side, Rakan hovering towards bot or mid. So if a fight were to open up, he could really go anywhere he wants to. So Gamsu and Srtty again fighting each other in the bot lane here.
Yeah, glad to be back here as we're going to see the siege coming on through from the red side here. They do have those Baron buffs. Vex going to land the ultimate, going to go in for the fear, lands it onto 2. They're going to melt right on through Winter before he can do anything, and it's going to be his bot lane partner following soon after. Array going to get taken down as well. It's going to be 2 kills picked up there off of a nice engage from Leo, and they're looking to make it more. This is going to be RBM trying to dash away, but just getting called on down, getting feared by Leo. He's going to pick up another one there. 3, 1, and 8 on this Vex, having a great performance on the new champ there, has really shown that it might just be capable there. Srtty tries to predict the jump back from Yunbee, doesn't quite succeed there, but is still winning out in the 1 versus 2 anyway. Is so powerful here on the Fed. Irelia is just melting on through these health bars. Gamsu trying to take the 1 versus 1 here. Gonna get stunned up as well, though. It's gonna be the dashes coming on through from Srtty, just trying to keep himself alive. He's gonna just try to run on out of there now, because his team is wrecking the base now. They've melted on through that mid lane inhibitor. They're starting to take Nexus turrets now. Everybody's so distracted with the Irelia that they're losing their entire base. Now all 5 are here to defend. They're going to back away. They're going to expend the bullet time, but so much has been claimed there by the red side while Srtty runs them around the map.
Srtty at that point was literally just a fishing lure dancing all across the rift there. We had 2 people that couldn't stop him, couldn't get the kill. Gamsu and Yunbee both were unable to stop Srtty as he was just dancing around the bot lane. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, we see an inhib go down and a Nexus turret fall for that. No neutral objectives up on the board, but what really does it matter? What can blue side do at this point to get back into the game when red side is just so dominant right now? You have this Aurelia, 3 items. You have Olaf, about to be 3 items. And Vex is massive now. 3, 1, and 8. 229 CS has played the map perfectly. Basically, if you're going even into a LeBlanc, you're kind of just winning that lane, right? If LeBlanc is unable to dominate the lane, there's not a whole lot she can do later on. Obviously, still playing it pretty well, 2, 1, and 3 on this LB, but Vex is a force to be reckoned with at this point.
Yeah, absolutely is here. The Shadow Surge ultimate giving so many engage opportunities when she has that Doom passive up, can just fear so many members by jumping in the middle of all of them. You don't have to worry about being a squishy mage when everyone's afraid, as now it's going to be Srtty. Pretty much in a 1 versus 5 here, does have the backup of Pockus, but they're not going to be able to win out on this. Pockus going to get melted through right away. Srtty, though, stay alive forever somehow. Shadow Surge comes on through, gets the resets. Leo looking to try to carry this fight as his top laner's falling on down, gets a bunch of damage there off the Mistral Bolt, though. Looking to finish off on a Winter, is going to be able to do so. Double kill goes over to the side of Leo. He makes it a triple. He's getting more resets there on the ultimate. Popping off here, gets himself a triple, forces the other 2 back into the base, and that might be all it takes here for them to be able to finish off the game. Leo getting caught out by LeBlanc, likely going to get taken down here. Even manages to stay alive with the shield for personal space. So much damage from Wixxi to be able to 1 versus 1 the other 80 carry, and that should be the end of the game here. We're getting another spectate bug. We're collecting them all like they're trading cards, but it is going to likely be the game finished off there for the red side.
Yeah, and a very, very well-played game for Red as well. They did everything they had to. They played through top side early on. They played with their advantage in the fact that they had a very early game team comp. Aurelia, Olaf, they want those trades early on, same as Lucian. And they held their own as well, even through all the dives that came through towards the bot side, being able to stay even or ahead of this MF Zyra, which really I thought would have been a lot more dominant with the combos coming through. They did exceptionally well in the bot side, staying alive.
Positively agree with you there. You've heard plenty from us all game. Let's throw it back to the analyst desk, now joined by Hiyami as well, to see what they have to say.
All right. Here we are. It's you, Inkan. It's me, and Hiyami, the ghost of Hiyami, has joined us. Welcome, I think. I'm going to double check that you can hear us in the background. But Inkan, how'd that game go for you? Because I don't remember Red Side being particularly favored. How'd they turn that one?
I mean, yeah, so it's tough because I know I said I wasn't a big fan of Red Side's draft. But we did say that Aurelia was a big win con for Red Team, especially when you have Srtty on it. I think Srtty's a very good carry player. But then the Vex does disable the entire top side of the map, given obviously her interactions with dashes. So they just generated a really large lead, or a large enough of a lead in the early game, and then due to blue team's missteps and uh misplays kind of in the mid game just made the game completely incapable for them to come back. Again, the Kiana went Umbral Glaive Gore Drinker, so she was a little squishy, going for plays against a pretty tanky comp with a head Aurelia and a head Olaf. That just overall didn't let them come into the game. So
Now,
I think Red Team did what they needed to do early game, and you saw what happened.
yeah, you talked about the early game. I wanted to ask about the sort of early dive that we saw because that seemed like probably the best way to get your Aurelia going. But when did that start? How did that play sort of end up being allowed to happen by Blue Side, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Well, so red side ends up going for the comp, but I talked about blue team misplaying. If you go back and watch how Gamsu plays the first three waves specifically, he's Aatrox into Aurelia, but the problem is he plays second wave way too fast, which is really bad because it's not enough gold to back for any item. But then beyond that, you can't back because it's also caddy wave, so you're stuck into wave. So then you have wave 3 and 4 come back to you on the perfect timer for your Olaf to come for a dive. So then if you watch what happens, the Olaf is able to just clear his topside jungle, skip the scuttle crab, and then go for the dive on fourth wave on the crash. And the Aatrox was properly punished for playing wave two way too fast. So it was a misplay by Gamsu, an amazing punish by Srtty and Fanatiik on the first clear. Now the punish by blue side was the counter did get double crab, but double crab for first blood and miss waves. I think red team will take that trade any day of the week.
And
That's
I
the
think it's
early
important
game.
to
Yeah.
point. Sorry.
I was gonna say that's the early game, but I wanted to see what you thought about the mid game, Hiyami. So I guess go ahead and take it away, like whatever.
I found the backside of that play, it was really important that both Aurelia and Olaf got the Iron Spike whip back, and that after that, that's when their dominance really started, because the item difference was almost 1,000 on the first back on top lane, and to
Yeah,
me, that's just the dominance that started there.
yeah, 100%. And then right after the dive, when wave 5-6 comes back to the Aurelia under the next tier one, when Aatrox, Kiana, and LeBlanc that had mover from mid would go for the dive, you actually saw Fanatiik and Pockus come up to then deny the dive and then got another advantage with their item advantage and TPs coming down. So it was a great dive, but then great answer on the rebound dive that Aatrox and Kiana could have gone for. So it's just really good team play from Red in the early game.
I wanted to know, especially because Hiyami, I know that you are very experienced in the jungle, shall we say. I wanted to
Yep.
see what you thought about the way that specifically Olaf was managed through the sort of mid game, because we saw a few dragons fall, obviously, Olaf doing his job, but then it does get a little bit harder as the game goes on, and yet Red continued to press their advantage. How big of a part of that was Fnatic?
I think he was really important. I think the main difference in the team comps was really the front line they were able to put up. The Aurelia and the Olaf, once they got going with their Gordrinker, with their Ninja Tabbies, it was really just unstoppable. And we saw Red Team get a clean 4 dragons through. I think the second dragon is really where it was hard for Blue Team, because they had the Rift Herald that ended up being misused on the backside just for a single tower. And then Red just ran away with the dragon stack.
I know that you and Con were talking about a few times where you actually felt like Red could have won more than they did at the time. Going back, like, what are some key moments that you realized where maybe with a little bit more synergy they could have punished Blue Side?
Yeah, it's actually so. I mean, it's part synergy, part not synergy. But Hyami and I were talking about it quite in depth. But and he kind of mentioned it on the tail end there. But when Blue Team uses the Rift Herald after the Dragon play is already over, all they're doing is getting a tower. Which sure they're getting plates and whatnot, but if you look at Blue Team's wave that crashes right in front of the tier 2 outside of tower range, Red Team has a perfect timer to just play for a freeze at that point and starve out Blue Team infinitely more than they already are, right? Because what happens is no one can effectively farm that bot wave, and there's your mid tower and top tower are so healthy that the tower isn't going to fall, and the next objective isn't up for like another 3 minutes. So you just have a timer where you can effectively kill Blue Team 3 times over without actually having to kill them, but instead you just push the wave back out bot and play ping pong and neutralize it, which isn't ideal, but I think Red Team would have been much better off just freezing at that timer and just choking out Blue Team.
Absolutely. So, I mean, like, there was still a lot of really good play from them there. I do want to
Yeah.
ask, though, about on the other side of that, how it is that Blue may have been able to come back. Because was something that I was looking at was the very synergistic sort of way that their composition fit together, and I felt like they never got the chance to do that. Was that due to a lack of setup on their part? How could they have actually taken the strengths that they got themselves before the game even started and translated that into maybe some sort of advantage in the mid game? And I guess, hey, Ami, I'll go with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think to me the main thing for blue team is that their utilization of their bottom lane, the MF and the Zyra, was just it was kind of poor, honestly. They didn't really get the Zyra snares into MF ultis that they wanted. They didn't get the Kiana combos with the MF, and that's where their comp really fell apart. Because if they don't get the instant damage with their comp with the Kiana burst, it just doesn't work out. And then the Olaf outsustains, the Relia outsustains, and that's basically how every fight turned out.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
And sorry if I can expand on that point too. If you go back and watch the third, I think it was the third dragon that we were really critical of what Blue Team was doing, where Yunbee was hitting the tier 1 top with DTP, and Blue Team had first setup with the MF Zyra that can just completely zone off Red Team from entering, but then they ended up going for a very aggressive play in the corridor when LeBlanc didn't get tier 1 tower and was going to have a TP delay to the play. So they just went for something way too fast, which isn't what their comp wants to do. Even though they're synergistic, you still want to let the enemy team funnel into a tighter corridor, and then you just really layer the CC on top. But they didn't really do that, and they ended up getting punished for it. And I think that Dragon 3 was the point of no return for the blue team.
Yeah, that was definitely when the game sort of snowballed out of control. Now, speaking of trying to do a few things without the proper resources or the proper composition, I feel like we're trying to host a 3-man desk without actually 3 people on it. So I want to take a very short break, see if we can't get Hayami's camera all fixed up so that he can join us here, and then we'll be right back with the draft of Game 2.
All right.
Right, Hayami, to have you here with us. All right, now we're setting up for game 2, and I guess the question for both of you is: we saw how game 1 went down. What are the steps that you think we're going to take on each side? And Hayami, I want to start with you. Like in terms of especially the early draft, but potentially even in game, how are we expecting this to course correct to even up the score 1-1?
So I think to me, it's the same thing. Srtty wants to take over this game. He wants to show his dominance, and we need to enable him for that. I wanted to see a strong early game, and just overall from the comps, I want to see less range supports. I want to see them roaming around, and I want to see the objective sequencing for both teams. I want to see the Dragons going and the Rift Heralds. Absolutely.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Incon.
Yeah, I mean, I think I largely agree with that. I think, right, I'm gonna kind of counter Hyami's point a little bit. Obviously, getting Srtty the advantage on blue side is going to be a little bit harder, so draft might need to be a little bit more creative. Which, you know, if red team is, you know, really thinking critically, you know, saving, you know, counter pick for Gamsu could be extremely advantageous for him. But I think in game, I want to see players being more mindful of how they're managing their waves relative to their jungler and the enemy jungler, and not putting themselves in such exposed positions.
Definitely. So one of the things that I'm hoping is that Hayami can swap with me, just because I'm not the big brain up here. He is. So Hayami, you're back to being a ghost for now, but we're gonna get this changed up. As of right now, though, no adaptations in the bans coming out from game 1, and I feel like draft-wise, that's all right. There's still a lot of breadth of strategy that we can explore, and I wouldn't expect this to be a repeat of game 1 by any means, especially because we've swapped sides.
Yeah, I think the first big priority is just not going to be the Kiana this game. I think we're more likely to see an AD carry from blue side.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
Yeah, I mean, if I can give my personal commentary a little bit, at least from a coach perspective, or from a perspective of a person who cares about draft, I really think Yumi is a lazy cop-out ban. Again, this is my opinion. I think it stems from a position of not, you know, thinking about what actually counters the Yumi and playing what counters the Yumi. Yumi first pick shouldn't be as potent as it is. Sona plus tank is a great counter. Callisto plus Taric is a great counter. But it's like we just forgot how to draft those counters, and people are just picking random stuff like Kaisa Nautilus. That's like, no wonder you're losing, right? So I'm not a big fan of the Yumi ban, but that's just personal commentary. The blue ban, banning TF, is absolutely no surprise. Yunbee's an amazing global player, so I think it's a really good ban. And then obviously, RBM Kha'Zix.
Yeah, and now we get to already see the mid matchup, the LeBlanc against Ryze. To me, I think it's up to Ryze to kind of scale into the game. The LeBlanc should have dominance on most levels, especially level 6. But if you can get your jungler to help out the Ryze, get him moving on the map, that's where you can really shine through.
Yeah, I really dislike LeBlanc first pick. I think you're setting yourself up to get outscaled, because Ryze is a very classical counter, but then, you know, you're going to be losing push a lot of times with the Ryze, and then you're also letting Yunbee get on his comfort of playing a champion that can go and influence a side lane. So I just think it's really setting yourself up in a really bad spot straight out of the gate in draft, especially if you're going to match up with the Jarvan.
I would actually disagree. I think the Jarvan pairing is really good, because it enables the early game win condition. As I said, the Ryze wants to get moving to side lane. As soon as he's level 6, he kind of starts losing the one-on-one. And to me, blue side currently has the aggression needed to shut him down before he gets going.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I think Jarvan's fine. I mean, obviously, like, Xin Zhao is another classical pairing that you could have gone with it. Yeah. So, I mean, if that's what you're going for, and as long as you're okay with leveraging into it, then there's definitely validity to it. So I can't disagree with you. I think I just am vehemently against the LeBlanc, so I can't see through it. But I mean, I think from your perspective, again, as a jungler, you'd probably like seeing the LeBlanc. So I can't.
The aggressive combo to me feels good. Now it's up to the supports, right? I feel like MF Leona is a really strong bot lane combo, and we have to see what blue team's able to pull out. We already see the Braum ban coming out.
Yeah, the Braum ban was actually really good too for the Ryze, as well, right? So the Braum would have completely messed up their first 3, and blue team really doesn't have access to a Yasuo, so the Braum was very good. Ornn ban, hopefully we'll get back right side eventually to see their next ban. Do we need to ban Ornn? I actually disagree with Ornn ban, because you're just picking jungle here on 4 every time, right?
I think they just wanna. They don't want to pick a top laner on 4-5 that is hard punishing for the Ornn, and they don't want a simple answer for a front-to-back comp for red team. That's what I see.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, right, you're picking jungle on 4, you're picking Ornn on 5 with the Rise, it's not super potent. I like the Graves ban a lot more. I agree with that a lot more. Graves would be, great with Rise, but the Xin Zhao is left open. I think it's a good pickup. I'm down for it. You can give your opinion.
Yeah, I think the Xin Zhao would make the mid 2v2 actually playable, because with anything else, the Vi feels very, very useless if they go into that.
Okay,
Alright, so
so Vigo jungle is quite weak. I promise it isn't as strong as people think it is. But it's an RBM special. So I'm not surprised to see it come out, even in its weak state. RBM really likes the champion. Obviously Ryze Vigo is a bit good. But not super in love with it.
to me, the jungle matchup does seem to work out. I don't love the pick either, but the Jarvan matchup is easy. You kind of out-sustain him, and going into mid-game, you'll be feeling pretty safe with your items. The Gorge Anchor, the Sterix, you won't really be dying to Jarvan or LeBlanc.
Yeah, very very hard single target as well, right? Ryze, Leona, Vigo. I think Tom Kench is going to be going top, but Tom Kench can find access to using his ult defensively to counter it. So it'll be interesting to see how Srtty actually navigates that champion in the mid game. Lucian Nami was left open, so I think very obvious pickup, especially into the Leona. Blue team's draft is looking pretty good. Oh no.
Yeah. To me, the issue with blue team's draft is the consistent CC. You don't really have much. You have Jarvan being able to trap most people on red team, but apart from that, I think it's gonna be relying on Nami, which is not much. Once again.
Yeah, for sure. It's also your scaling is 0. You're really kind of all in on like the mid game and hoping you can win before that. But the Lilia is really interesting.
I'm very confused about that.
Okay, so you hate it as much as I do.
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
I'm trying to even figure out if it's going jungle, if it's a Lilia top. It seems very out of place.
I would have to assume it's Lilia. Wait, I mean, Lilia doesn't want to go into either of those matchups though. So, I mean, I think to talk about why they went this pick, obviously the way Lilia Sleep interacts with MF ulti, right?
It's amazing.
It won't wake them up. So you're saying even though we're picking Lilia into 2 bad matchups, that really makes the champion unplayable, and we'd rather not have this champion because it's piss worthless, and we just aren't getting anything out of it. You're saying, oh, but it has really good synergy with our Misfortune.
Yeah, I think they might have tunnel vision on the team fight aspect.
Yes.
Because to me, it has to go top lane. Against the Jarvan, if you ever lose your flash after level 6, you're honestly getting farmed.
Yeah, because it's LeBlanc Jarvan too. You just can't play the game.
Yeah, but even if the Lilia is going jungle, for me, the mid 2v2 is honestly doomed as well. The Ryze Lilia are never going to get off the ground, but we're going to see what the roles are soon enough.
Yeah. I really dislike that pick. I think it's... I don't want to say disappointing because I hate being dramatic, but like if you're looking for like an R5 like checkmate, making like Lilia where you're double countering yourself in the top side is just really, really sad in my opinion. But
yeah, I would have liked to see something like, I don't know, maybe Darius, something beefy top lane, because they're already showing a lack of damage and a lack of scaling across the board with the Lucian and the LeBlanc both falling off. But yeah, I don't agree with the last pick here either.
I think your Darius recommendation is actually perfectly fine. Again, lack of CC, right, would be a beefy frontline. I think Darius was a great recommendation for something they could have gone. I mean, Garen, but any like bruiser there just completely wins the game as long as it can play into the Tom Kench. Would be the only caveat. If you want to like super hyper like aggro counter the Tom Kench and you have a lot of faith in your top laner, you can go something like Vayne if you wanted to, if you're a psychopath who's just confident. But I think Darius was a really good recommendation.
Yeah, I mean the bruiser option in general, even like a set, Renekton, Aatrox, just kind of something bruiser I would have liked to see, but we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we have a complete misread on the pick too, and maybe Lilia will just be really good into the Tom Kench.
Maybe it's the matchup.
Yeah. Actually, what keystone do you think Lilia will go? Because if she goes Phase Rush, is it actually playable?
Well, I think she has to go Phase Rush to be able to get away from the Tom Kench. Otherwise, the Tom Kench doesn't even need to hit the WCC to get the kill.
Yeah, it has to be Phase Rush, but...
Yeah. It does end up being Lilia top. So, I do like that for the jungle matchup. As I said, the Viego has the advantage on the Jarvan, especially in the scaling. Past 2 items, to me, Jarvan doesn't do much apart from the CC.
Yeah. What do you think about what do you think about it, Dia? We've kind of talked over you. Do you want to say anything about the game?
I'm happy. I've been listening to you guys break it down and analyze. I'm on the screen anyways. I think that I'm very excited to see the Tahm Kench Lilia thing that you guys have been talking up there, because that is a super weird matchup. Do you think it's actually what the game is going to become about, though? Does that make sense? Like, is that sort of a side aspect to the game, or is that now what everybody on the map is focusing on?
To me, it's going to be, once again, the objective stacking. The dragons are going to be very important. The Jarvan does have the early control with the LeBlanc, so that's what I want to see going for blue team. As for red side, I think it's just the scaling. It's very hard for them to play kind of anywhere. Their bottom lane is going to be the strongest with the MF Leona, but I'm not sure how much they can get done.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think if blue team loses a single early dragon, then it just kind of spells out doom. I think blue team is really expected to get the early dragons, especially with that comp. With, you know, having Lucian Nami into Misfortune Leona, you should be getting that bot prio. Jarvan is able to take those early dragons, so it's really what you need to be playing for, especially with the LeBlanc Jarvan combo as well. Pre-6, and then, with that said, red team, I think their team fight is much better. So again, I think that's, you know, where Hyami brought up scaling. Blue team scaling is much better. I think you'll see kind of a transition at like the post 6 mark, where I think Viego needs to help the Lilia escape the early game against the Tahm Kench. If they can do that, then the Ryze can take his level 6 and be like, okay, my Misfortune Leona is online post level 6. Let's just make the game unplayable for the Lucian Nami, and then that's how the Misfortune Leona and really the team fight scale can get activated for red team.
I like it. I like it. We've got the stakes set up. Did you want to have a last note, Hyami?
No, I mean, it's mainly, I think the Ryze is going to be very important in this split push. If he can match the Tahm Kench, it's going to be really good. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard for red team.
Yeah, this is actually looking like it's going to be a pretty close game for me, especially off the back of game 1, where we had things, or our expectations sort of thrown up in the air. So let's take a quick break. We'll throw it over to the casters to see how this one all plays out on the Rift.
Welcome back, everybody. We are right into the action here for game number 2 as Gamsu's going hard up against Srtty in this top lane on the Lilia. This might be the counter pick after all. The Dream Dust might be enough to finish him off. Doesn't look like it's going to be there, but oh boy, only 2 minutes, 30 seconds of the game. Got there a little bit later than we wanted to, and already people are going at it in the top lane.
Yeah, 2 minutes 30. I feel like we just started, Gord. I don't know what happened. I feel like I've gone through a portal in time. But yeah, they talked about it on the analyst desk. They weren't too happy about the Lilia pick. I'm a little bit iffy on it myself with it being picked up so late in the game, but obviously it's already doing work up top here, doing very well. Obviously teams have swapped, if you haven't noticed already, a little bit of fight in the bot side.
Yeah, moving in on a Pockus, gonna pick up first blood. It goes over to Winter, actually. That's gonna be a nice play there by the red side labeled blue by Team RBM here in this game number 2. They are going to get themselves the first blood and look to claim themselves a victory here as they ended up losing out here in game number 1. It was Team Fanatiik that took the first match of the night.
Yeah, in a very nice fashion as well. Kind of dominated the early, mid, and late game. No real area where they were ever behind. And now completely flipped on its head as we are seeing up on the top side here. Gamsu into Srtty doing very well. And then in the bot side there, RBM with a very nice gank on this Viego. Now we're seeing Fanatiik hanging around in the bot side here, maybe going for a little bit of a cheeky invade. It looks like he will spot out this blue.
Yeah, those blooming blows or whatever the Lilia Q is dealing a whole bunch of damage. That's a Nico ability, I think. But
no, you're right. Blooming blows, correct.
Forcing Gamsu under this turret here, or forcing Srtty rather under this turret, as RBM has pathed up over to this side. Might be potentially looking for a dive here, but it is going to be against the Tom Kench. And Gamsu actually going to take a tongue lash there. Forced pretty low, going to have to back on away. Needs to play very careful here. Yunbee's come up as well. Does not have access to the Realm Warp yet, but they might be going for the 3v1 dive anyway. RBM going to take a turret shot for his troubles, taking to about half HP. It looks like they're going to have to just leave Srtty be for now. This Catfish, big and dangerous, and he just wants to claim his creeps under the turret. They're going to have to let him.
Yeah, a little bit of a scuff dive there. Gamsu going in a little bit too early, and then we see RBM showing up not quite at the right time. Minions hadn't pushed under tower. He takes 2 tower shots, ends up going in to the blue side of Fanatiik, who is going to be meeting him shortly, as well as Leo showing up around this blue as well.
Yeah, Fanatiik is here as well, has come back from base, is very strong early on this Jarvan, going to catch out really big meme here, or at least going to see him as they go on in there. Srtty going to land the slow with the tongue lash. Leo is here for the follow-up as well. If he can land the chain, might potentially lock him down, but already calling up for some assistance from his allies. RBM is going to manage to make the escape.
Yep, Gamsu ends up TPing, showing up on this top side here as well. He's going to try to go up and catch this wave. Bot side are seeing another push in. Wixxi and Pockus now shoving this in extremely hard. It seems like everything's just kind of flipped on its head. What we saw in the last game, the teams literally have just kind of swapped here. And now Gamsu getting a lot of damage on his Srtty and actually finishes him off. Wow, did not expect that damage from Lilia this early with the blooming blow.
The blooming blows just doing so much there, continuously landing them right there on the outside to deal maximum damage over to the side of Srtty. And eventually just takes him out there. He's got a 20 CS lead as well. Maybe this is the counter matchup at the end of the day after all. Not even going for the phase rush that they were talking about at the analyst desk. Has the Conqueror instead to keep stacking up that damage and gets the solo kill there. As now it is going to be Yunbee and Leo going at it here. Yunbee has to be careful as there's multiple members of Fanatiik's squad coming up to gank him. Not going to get caught out by anything, though. He falls back under the turret and is going to stay alive for the time being just to keep farming up against Leo.
Yeah, up at the top there. I personally didn't understand the Conqueror pick. I did think it was going to be a phase rush angle as well, but I guess what do I know, as the Conqueror has been working so far. A nice gank in the mid lane forces the flash from Yunbee. I do like the Rise pickup as well. I have to agree with the analysts on that. I don't agree with the LeBlanc first pick. Thought that was a bit iffy. I think especially with the amount of counters that you can just pick into LeBlanc. I think LeBlanc's a decent blind pick, but not first pick. It looks like off of that play in the bot side here, forcing mid back with the prio as well as bot side. They're going to pick up the first Drake. That's going to be the Ocean. We're going to see Fire second. Looks like those two first Drakes have been swapped, and may just see another Cloud Drake Soul this time around.
And once again, Srtty just taking so much damage here. The Eep gonna come on across as well.
Oh
just
my.
playing his range just perfectly, going to put him to sleep, going to interrupt the Abyssal Dive as a result. This might be another solo kill coming out for Gamsu. In fact, it almost certainly will be. The flash forward for Gamsu doesn't manage to land it onto Srtty, though. He's going to be able to finish it off at the end of the day, but he's gonna get traded back on by Fanatiik. 1-for-1 in the top lane there. Feels like it should have been a solo kill for Gamsu, just unfortunately missing that one blooming blow into the turret.
Yeah, I have not seen that interaction with putting Tahm Kench to sleep mid-dive, and it doesn't look like Gamsu did either. He really anticipated that dive to go through into the tower as you saw him start to path under tower. Ends up having to double back, and that's another big reason as to why Srtty was able to get away and live for so long. But Gamsu unfortunately is missing the flash Q there. Fanatiik, speaking of flashing, forced to flash over that wall or risk dying.
He goes underwater, but he doesn't come back up. He just stays exactly where he is, passes out, and ends up giving up a kill for it. As now, that is going to be Array forced out from under the turret there. Is going to have to take the recall. Took a whole bunch of damage there from Wixxi. Or from, yeah, not from Wixxi. I got my players correct.
Yep, you got it.
They're going to claim themselves 3 turret plates.
Yeah, a couple nice turret plates for them, as well as that Rift Herald on the top side. Gamsu still looking for more. But Wixxi and Pockus poking down this tower. They're going to get 1 plate for it, and we're going to see Srtty actually go in here. Not sure if that's the best play at the moment, but Srtty doing a lot of damage here.
Yeah, once again, it is going to be Srtty taken down to less than half HP. He's really struggling in this 1-versus-1 up against the Lilia. Now that there's more items in the pocket of the Lilia, and he also really only has the Null Magic Mantle there for magic resistance up against 2 AP components here from Gamsu. He's really just continuously beating him up here with his bow, getting the Dream Dust on top of him for continuous damage over time, and punishing him for just staying in this lane. He's fallen down pretty substantially in CS now. It looks like the reverse of the matchup from last game.
Yeah, I mean, Gamsu sitting on 20 ability haste with those 2 items, a lot of mana for Poke, and another nice pick. Hawk is going to go down. Fanatiik up next.
Ooh, that's the bubble landed there onto the side of Fanatiik. He's going to try to escape. He's going to get taken on down by the side of Wixxi at the end of the day, or by Array, rather, as now it's going to be Leo coming on forward, looking for a stun on the Yunbee, not going to land that chain or anything of the sort. Meanwhile, a 3-man dive getting set up in the bottom lane. RBM is coming on through here, going to force the dash out of Wixxi in the wrong direction. He is going to fall on down. Another kill picked up for Array there in the bottom lane. Now sitting at 2-0 along with his lane partner Winter. These guys played a whole split together just previously in the summer and are now coming out huge here in this game number 2.
Yeah, they're going to trade out that kill. They trade the plates that was taken earlier. And they're going to try to get themselves a whole tower here. But Pockus going to show up as well as Fanatiik here. Waiting on the wings is Winter, just in case they do decide to go in. Going to drop that flag, spot him out. And Winter's going to be able to clear this vision for it as well. So a nice trade back and forth. We are seeing Red Team start to climb here. 3K gold lead, 5 kills, and a dragon up right now. Still no towers taken at the moment. Just a few plates taken overall. 1 plate remaining on that bot lane tower. And right now, the biggest difference in gold that we're seeing is going to be in the top jungle and the bot, really. I mean, the mid lane is pretty much dead even because they are dead even on CS. But if you're looking at the ADCs, right now, Wixxi is up, or excuse me, Array is up 1K gold.
Yeah, it's a big lead there for the bot laner on the red side there. RBM's team coming out swinging here in this game number 2, certainly going to want to claim themselves a win here in this series, tie it up at 1-1 coming into game number 3. That's going to be a gank in the mid lane. Yunbee going to flash out of the Cataclysm. They're going to lock on down Fanatiik, turning it back around with a whole bunch of damage here. Going to get snared on up by the chain, but he's going to be able to back away. Now Winter's come on up, not landing the Zenith Blade there. That should stop disengage in its tracks. There's nobody going to end up falling on down there. Just a trade of summoner spells back and forth. RBM looking to keep this going into an invade into the jungle, but it looks like the engagement is all but over.
Winter, unfortunately, not quite level 6. Ends up hitting... Oh, no!
Leo jumps back over the wall right into the face of Winter, stuns him up, locks him down. They're going to burst through that clone, but so far have not been able to get onto the real Leo. He will be able to escape with the help of his flash there, but now is going to be an incredibly low LeBlanc right as the Dragon spawns. And with how dominant their bot lane has been, the red team should be able to lock this one on down.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think this can really be contested. No ultimate from Pockus or Fanatiik. That's a late TP, but they're looking for the chase.
Yeah, it's both Leo and Srtty here coming on through to try to make something happen, and they're going to get nothing for that. That's a huge commitment of resources into the Dragon Pit on these late TPs. Nobody going to be locked on down. The red team going to back away here, although they might opt into a little bit of an engagement. Winter and RBM appear to be looking. They're scanning out on each other. Both parties know the others here. Fanatiik is the one to get locked on down by the Zenith Blade. Here comes Array trying to collapse onto him, trying to get this damage on across from the Misfortune. Here comes another teleport. This one's going to be a lot more useful than the last, because it's going to cut on off the escape path. It's going to be a kill picked up for Array, and now they're looking to make it more. Glenn's going to get forced down the side of Wixxi, but he's getting collapsed on by 5 members now, hiding out under his turret, but the flash forward from the side of Gamsu, going to melt on through everybody. Multiple kills get picked on up. They trade back Winter at the end of the day, but it's going to be 2-9 on the scoreboard. It's going to be the first turn of the game, falling on down to the red team.
Yeah, very, very nice play overall. Off the back of a very strange decision with the macro on those TPs coming from both Srtty and Leo. Not sure what they were looking for. I don't know if they wanted to contest the Drake or if they were just looking for exit kills after the Drake was taken. Maybe just look for a skirmish afterwards. But it ends up failing for them big time as a big turnaround comes through for the red team. They end up finding the kill. They get the trade back onto Winter for 150 gold shutdown for the side of Wixxi. But not great compared to what you end up losing for it. And now, in the top side, Srtty and Gamsu, Winter going at it.
Power comes on through. That's going to deal a whole bunch of damage over to Gamsu, but is it going to be enough? Looks like the answer so far is going to be no. A bunch of damage coming across. It is going to be Srtty falling on down once again. Gamsu gets himself another kill. Now the collapse coming on through from Fanatiik. He wants to get that Cataclysm on across. He's going to flash forward and get it onto the side of Gamsu. Gamsu going to fall on down. That kill going to get picked up by Pockus. Here comes the response from RBM. He's just a little bit too late here, though, and Leo has already come on up while Yunbee is in the base. Looks like there's not going to be anything to get claimed back here. It is a 1-for-1 in the top lane. Nice bit of damage done over to Gamsu. Going to try to shut down this deer before it gets more out of control.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pockus picking up that kill, but regardless, a kill's a kill, a shutdown's a shutdown. But you would like to see that go over to Fanatiik at the very least for that to get him some kind of finished item in his board. He's sitting on the Iron Spike Whip. He's got a Phage and a Kindle Gem at the moment. Doesn't have the tier 2 boots quite yet. Neither does RBM on the other side, but RBM sitting at 007, James Bond over there, going to pick up this Rift Herald.
Yeah, once again, nicely played by RBM here. Hasn't really been the one to initiate a lot of these plays, but has always been where he needs to be and has been able to participate in quite a few of these fights as a result. Now going to be picking up the second Rift Herald to add that to his 2 dragons and 1 Rift Herald he already has in the tank. Has picked up every single objective all around the map for this game. And is a large contributor to why there's almost a 4.5k gold lead here to the red side. That is massive for 15 minutes of the game.
Right, yeah, that's usually where the games start to end. 4.5, 5k gold lead is really where you're looking for to end the game. But Gamsu could have a problem here.
Yeah, getting dove once again here, just not super mobile on this Lily. You're going to get devoured on up. Srtty going to get some revenge for the hell he's been living through for the last 15 minutes. Going to get himself a kill there onto his lane opponent. But meanwhile, they're losing their top turret. They've thrown on down the Herald. It's going to charge, but not going to lose any health because the turret was already gone. They're going to get a second charge here on the inner turret. They could even threaten this one as it's just Leo. They've called back Fanatiik, but he's a little bit late on the approach here. They are going to lose this top inner turret. That's a fat sack of gold going over to the side of Yunbee and RBM.
They get the kill on the bot side there onto Gamsu, but there was no shutdown. There was really no gold to be had on him yet. He didn't reset. But they get 2 towers in the top side with the help of that Rift Herald. That's a massive chunk of gold over to them. They're going to escalate into the 5.5k gold lead now because of that. Srtty taking up so many tower shots trying to finish off this tower. Finally does so, but yet another tower is going to fall, this time in the mid lane. So 3 towers for a tower and a kill. That is a massive win for the side of red team here. And Dragon coming up in 40 seconds. They're going to go ahead and reset. Blue team not going to have as much time to reset. They do have their abilities up as far as their both summoner spells and ultimates, but kind of low on mana is Wixxi. And that's going to be an issue if they do decide to fight, because he's going to be needing to move around a lot in these fights with RBM, Gamsu. You have Winter that's going to be trying to go on the back line here. And you only have one dash as Lucian. He's got the Flash and Cleanse up, but he's got to be very careful on what he chooses to cleanse.
Yeah, Lilia's kind of got that Teemo singed global taunt kind of thing going on there. You just want to kill this deer. You know that she's going to be running all around the map, putting people to sleep, being annoying. And it creates this innate desire to go and get kills on the deer, but you've just lost out on so much for going for it for once again another time in a row. Really going to have to rethink those approaches here on the blue side if they want to end up coming back into this game. You're not going to win it if you're just continuously killing Gamsu anymore. Maybe earlier in the game could have started that snowball, as our analyst desk did predict this would be a matchup that you could punish, but it's not what ended up happening here, and instead has just led to leads across the map here without Gamsu even needing to be involved. He's just drawing so much pressure to himself.
Exactly, because he got so far ahead so quickly, he started drawing a lot of that attention up in the top side, even on the bot side when he moved down there, and because of that, the rest of his team is just being enabled to get stronger and stronger. They talked about it on the analyst desk. We talked about it afterwards that MF should be looking for the Kraken Slayer angle, and he does end up building that Kraken Slayer, followed by the LDR. A lot of heal cut coming through already for her. So it's going to be very hard for the rest of the blue side to stay alive during bullet time that comes through for Array, and see how those team fights end up working out for them, because the longer this goes on, that they're split up looking for picks, failing on those picks and allowing red side to get ahead, it's going to be hard and hard for them to get back into the game. And already
going to be the first one to fall there. That's going to be a Rampage picked up inside of Array. There's a big bullet time coming on through, going to get flashed away from by both parties, but it's too late. The fight's already been lost. Pockus going to fall on down to RBM. 2 kills picked up for the red side here. So they're going to try to move on up and take on this inner turret here. So much damage there off of that engage. We talked about it just a second ago. Array's built to take down this Tom Kench, built to take down this Jarvan, making sure that they are going to have the capabilities to take out these big tanky targets from the AD carry position much more effective in this game than that lethality build that we do sometimes see. And paying off dividends there as they pick up the 4th kill of the game there onto Srtty. He's been shut out of this on the Tom Kench. It's almost an interrupt coming on through from Leo, but Lilia's just too annoying. You just can't lock her down. She's going to get the recall off.
Way too much movement in her kit, even without the phase rush. They talk about the phase rush being needed so that she can get away from the dives of Tom Kench, but that has just not been the case. Just dancing around the map, using those Qs for poke, getting those blossoms off, just doing a lot of damage, just unable to be touched. And when she is touched, when she is finally killed, something else is happening on the other side of the map that blue side is getting punished for. So not all is lost on Gamsu dying each time, because he's like not knowingly impacting the rest of the map just by dying.
For sure here, as now Baron is in the eyes of these squads, just spawned on up, as now both parties going to move up around towards this top side. The red side, of course, should have complete control, but there's some vision still standing there. They see Array in particular running back and forth in this river. They know where he's at, so don't have to worry that the big purple worm has been started on up, but they are going to want to push on up here, fight for some control over that top river, because they do not want to end up giving up this objective.
No, and Gamsu has that TP and the ultimate available in the bot lane here, so he's just going to try to continuously push. If his team is able to just stall out this Baron, they don't need to pull the trigger. What they need to do is get all of blue team to back off, and somebody needs to stop Gamsu here. Probably going to have to be Tom Kench, because he's the only other one with a TP available. Leo's is down for now. Looks like Red is going to go ahead and take that back after a nice push in the bot lane here, and Yunbee potentially caught out.
Yeah, Fanatiik going to go in for that engage, going to land the knockup off of the flag and drag. RBM's coming on up here. They're going to melt right through Fanatiik in an instant. Now the flag and drag going to be available for the other side. Will he look to chase farther onto Leo? looks like the answer is no for the time being, although he's going to go for it now, get some damage on across, dodges away from the bubble, the teleport's coming on through. That's going to be Srtty trying to get something back for his team here, going to get the slow on across, but backup is here for the red side. Winter steps on forward, goes for the Zenith Blade, gets the lockdown. RBM now looking to keep this fight going as well. Does not have the Heartbreaker available anymore, is going to get exhausted, is going to get taken down, is going to get shut down. Bullet time coming over the wall, is dealing a bunch of damage over to the side of Srtty, but he's tanky enough to survive it. Backs on away, now is Abyssal diving over the wall, looking to keep the fight going on to Gamsu. Multiple members on the red side are very low here. They don't want to fight any farther. Leo jumps over the wall, finds some damage on the Winter, but just gets melted back onto by Array. So much damage here available for the Misfortune. Still no boots, too, just going straight AD and paying off dividends with it. It's going to be the now move on to Srtty, who dived in once again, trying to get this kill onto Winter, but it's just taking more than he bargained for from this very fed Misfortune. They have to find a way onto Array, but they haven't been able to do it so far, and it looks like they're just going to be forced to disengage.
Blue team has been fighting for way too long. They should have cut their losses, taken the kills they got, and backed off after that. Instead, they continuously tried to fight, and they kept on losing afterwards because Array has just been untouched that entire time. Now they're going to be giving up the soul for free. It is going to be another Cloud Soul. It's the same 3 Drakes that came in the last game that are going to come through this time with the same soul. And it looks like we are going to see that picked up right by the red team there. And even with a very kind of sloppy fight from the red side, they still come out very much on top.
Yeah, this is probably a slightly worse team comp with the Cloud Soul. Not a lot of champions who get huge value out of it. Misfortune in particular stands out as somebody who stands still when she ults, so
yep.
You know, not quite getting the maximum value. Lilia puts everybody to sleep already and is already moving plenty fast.
Rise is standing still.
I'm going to be happy to lock that one down. I'm going to be happy to have the Elder on the table soon as they go in for an engage here. Get knocked back up by the tidal wave, though. Might have been not more than they can chew here. Yunbee getting a bunch of damage on across, but Winter's going to be the first one to fall, and so far the only one to fall. Array trying to keep the fight going, steps on forward, wasn't able to use the bullet time, though, while they were all bunched on up. Therefore, not really getting too much damage on across. That's going to be the sleep coming on through, going to force the cleanse. They don't quite get the combo on off. That's a huge knockup landed by Fanatiik, although it has been Srtty taken down already. It's going to be Fanatiik falling down as well. 2 kills already picked up in the 4 versus 5. And now with the Rise ultimate, they're just going to head right over to Baron. The opposing jungler is down, and his objective should be all theirs.
And that's another situation where the blue side, they got a nice pick. Should have just backed off, done a little bit of resetting after that, and taken the gold that they had, because they're getting some gold, but then they're giving even more gold back over to the red side. It's a 10k gold lead, 10 kills up, 3 towers, and another 2 kills potentially coming through if they decide to keep on chasing.
Yeah, Yunbee and Array just one shot side of Wixxi there. Stepped up a little bit too far, got immediately taken on out, and now Leo might join him if he's not careful. Gonna have to dash on out of there. Is this Baron buff going to enable him to rip on through the mid lane inner turret? Gotta watch out for the Swirl Seed too. That stuff's almost global and could potentially put any of you to sleep.
Swirl Seed from downtown. The Lilting Lullaby not quite available yet, but that Solar Flare is.
Yeah, they're gonna go for
the flash.
Flash. Now it's the inhibitor turret down too. They're gonna get the inhibitor as well. Red team just taking everything here. They don't even need more kills. They've taken 1 onto Wixxi, and that's all they feel they need.
Yeah, see, that was a situation where blue team probably could have gone in under tower. They had all of their ultimates available, whereas on this other side, red team, they, I think, only had 2. And that was RBMs and Gamsu's. Winters wasn't up. The Make It Bullet Time wasn't up until just now. And then Yunbee, the ultimate from him, isn't very aggressive. So no real need for that. But they could have gone in there, tried to defend that inhib, but instead they take the safe route there. Back up a little bit. They have to give it up. Don't want this game to end just yet off of a bad team fight if it turns out to be that way. That Srtty somehow missing the scuttle and going through it. But regardless, now everybody's splitting up here. Where are we at on this Baron? Still on everybody for the red side here. They're going to try to push in the side lanes here. Lilia up top. We're seeing Winter, RBM, as well as Array in the bot side trying to open up the side lanes.
Sure, through here, looking to get into this bottom inhibitor. That's
Oh
going to be a They're calling out Leo's blink back. He's going to get taken out as well to that. Nicely timed by Winter to finish off the opposing mid laner. Now there's CC coming through out of Pockus. They haven't been able to finish him off quite yet. That's going to be the bullet time channeled on across everybody, and now it is going to be Array going godlike, getting the double kill. 2 more picked up by the side of Gamsu, and that's going to be the red side picking up a win here. RBM's team going to tie it up at 1-2-1 here as we get ready for our 3rd match of the night.
Third and final, the next one. We don't really go by the winners of it. You know, we're just looking at these teams, all these players, and showcasing their ability and skill. But the next one will essentially be the decider of who's going to go 2-1 here and end up taking it home for the night. But very, very well played for the red side here. You flip those nameplates, and it looks exactly like game 1, just completely turned around. It seems like red side is just the side to be on tonight, and they played very, very well. On the backside there, Gamsu coming through from the top, TPing in, able to get the flank going to finish off that game.
Yeah, and Incon really getting validated there on his LB hating, as that's 2 games in a row now where the LB has really been 0-0-0, coming in at like 15-20 minutes into the game, not really getting anything done, and ending up taken out of the game here. But you've heard Fury and I talk about it plenty. Let's throw it back over to our analyst desk and see what they have to say.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Wonderful job, as always. Now, the questions here are going to be about breaking down what I think we can all agree was what felt like a very long game, especially if you were on blue side at Incon, as you were the one validated by the LeBlanc hate. I mean, do you feel good coming out of this game? Was this a LeBlanc thing? What happened here?
Well, it's actually really interesting because as much as I do hate the LeBlanc, I think there's ways to draft the LeBlanc on the first pick there against a player like Yunbee. If you ban the Rise and TF, the LeBlanc gets a lot more open, and I think it's a lot more potent. But if you leave the Rise up and you plan on picking the LB, you can't really do it. But in the grand scheme of things, right, and Kiami talked about this a little bit, I don't think the problem stemmed from that LeBlanc pick. I think the problem stemmed from elsewhere. So, Kiami, you want to step in here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think starting even in the first clear, you could see how the game was going to go. Jarvan got 4 camps and kind of got greedy on his clear, and then you saw the Viego first blood. And right before that, you saw the Tahm Kench almost dying. And to me, that's where the gap kind of really happened. This game was on the side lanes. The MF was just stomping the whole way through, and then the Lilia had control in the matchup that we believed would be weak for her, but it turned out really well.
Yeah. I mean, what about that matchup sort of shifted? I know we got the chance to see it a little bit, but like coming out of that, do you feel like the actual matchup itself should be Lilia favored, or was it just a outplay, I guess, in the top lane?
I think it might just be Lilia favored. I mean, it looked like she was able to kind of dance her way around Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench not being able to get the stuns, being able to get the CC down, and kind of gets out-sustained. So maybe we were wrong.
Hey,
Yeah.
maybe we'll keep those down low. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to defend, my lack of knowledge on it, the other possible counter to it being, Lilia favored or Tahm Kench favored is it could be one of those matchups where one player just has such lopsided knowledge of the specific matchup. It's probably not very often a Tahm Kench player comes up against a Lilia player, and if a person's willing to pick Lilia into Tahm Kench, it's most likely that that person just has very good knowledge on the matchup compared to the person they're playing against. It would be like picking Gangplank into Darshan Tryndamere, right? One person's coming into that lane phase with just infinitely more knowledge, and it's going to feel a lot more punishing than if it was an even knowledge matchup. But it, again, might just be Lilia favored, but it definitely looks Lilia favored, at least in this game.
You alluded to this earlier, and Hayami, I'd like you to sort of take this and expand upon it. But even with that matchup going the way that it did, I think that we all agreed that it wasn't so much a thing that was based in individual lanes, or rather, the draft itself, the champions. What were the things that sort of fell apart on the blue side that they maybe could have stepped up to make that a lot more even of a showing?
So I think, as we pointed out, towards the early game, they fell through. But towards the mid game, they still had some chances to be able to come back. And to me, the game was really sealed after the second dragon. They tried to get a late contest where they didn't really have any good setup. And then they tried to blow 2 TP in the dragon pit itself, trying to chase for kills. And that's for me, the hopes really died after that. They have no TPs to set up the map. They lost the fight, they lost the dragon, and it all goes
Kitty.
downhill from there. Yeah, and the cat feature right here.
Sorry. Simple mind. Yeah, no, so, I mean, we talked about it during draft, but we said that if blue team loses either of the first 2 dragons, then it really just kind of spells game over for them. And then just lose one, they lost both. And then I really feel like the 2 things I want to talk about, going to this last game is, first off, the TPs this series have felt relatively off. Now, having good TPs is a very hard thing to do, especially when you aren't necessarily playing as a team as consistently as these players are, right? Some of them have histories with each other and playing with each other, but, syncing up TPs with, like, a new person that you're just stepping into a competitive game with can be quite hard. And then the other thing that Tiami and I have been talking about, and, you as well, Dia, has been what's been going on after the first tower take at about, like, the 13-minute mark. It seems like both teams just kind of lose the tower or get the tower, depending on what side of the team you're on, and then the lane just kind of gets completely vacated. It usually gets reset back to neutral, and then no team does anything with that lane. So I really want to see how a team, if at all, adapts to the the first tower going down, and how they can choke the enemy team with that new advantage, and what team can use TPs really well. As in the early and mid game. So that's really what I'm looking at personally going to this last game.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about using the momentum of the tower going down, and you're a coach, so I figure I may as well ask you the question. Once that first tower goes down, what are maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 things that you can do to try and continue that momentum in your favor, as opposed to having it stagnate as it has been?
So, this is a really tough question to answer.
It is.
Because there's a lot of variables that go into a game of League of Legends. But Hyami made a really good point when we were looking at the last game. So I'll let him talk about that, where he talked about, if you are going to take the tower with the Herald, if you take it early enough that you can then rotate to a different lane and get 3 more plates from another tower, for example, then it's really advantageous. And if he wants to go into more detail, he can if he wants to.
Absolutely. To me, my point of view on taking towers early is kind of most of the value is placed on the plates themselves rather than the tower, the advantage on the map. It's really about the plates. So if you take the towers at 11, 12 minutes, you still have 2 to 3 minutes to run around and farm more plates. But these games, it's kind of being the rift gets placed down bot, a team gets a tower, and that's it. The wave gets abandoned, no other plates get taken on top side, and to me that's where it gets kind of disappointing, and I want to see the players really be on top of their wave management together.
Yeah. So I'll kind of take it back. The other thing I want to bring in is both times it's been used on bot side of the map. A really big thing you can look at is using the Rift Herald in a manner where you can use it on top side of the map, where it forces the enemy team to answer. And if you sync it up with the dragon spawn timer, where you're then able to both A, play for the plates like Hyami is able to, but then B, set up the dragon when the enemy team vacates the area, then it's very advantageous for you in both regards, and that's the optimal way to take that early tower. Now, with that said, the enemy team can still answer by freezing, and every minute that an enemy team freezes a lane against you, you're losing 300, 400 gold, which is effectively a kill. So it's kind of like a ping pong, right? It's a very tough game, and it's a balancing act where if you are taking that early tower, you have to make up for it when the enemy team can possibly freeze against you. But it's on the enemy team freezing against you, so...
Yeah, and I think it's a great point, even on this game where it was heavily one-sided. After I marked on 12 minutes 35 was the dragon take, and until 14:50, we didn't really see anyone on the bot wave from either teams. So even in that game, red team kind of bled out probably 200 or 300 gold advantage they could have had through their bot wave.
And
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the other thing that we talked about that Hyami and I actually really liked, which I don't know if it was on purpose or inadvertent, but red team used the Herald on the bot tower at the 11-minute mark, where they got the 2 plates and got it down to 1 plate. But we actually said that we really liked the tower staying up for a little bit of an extended period, because we said that given MF Leona and Viego's location on the map, they could actually find another kill onto Nami Lucian that they wouldn't otherwise have access to if they took the tower super early. So that was actually really good, like, cerebral thought coming out of red team, and I again, really liked, like, even if it wasn't on purpose, I really liked the game set that was created by that.
You know, I think it sort of plays into the best of both worlds thing, where you're focusing on the plates and making use of the Rift Herald to get those, while also not losing the potential momentum of taking the first tower. And we're talking a lot about this sort of like big brain heady stuff, and that's something that I really enjoy seeing from these teams when they're able to work together and coordinate in that way. But at the same time, I want to ask you guys the question as to whether there have been any individuals that have seemed remarkably consistent to you, because we've seen two games that have been extremely different in both wins and losses. Has there been a player, maybe two, that are showcasing themselves as at the very least dependable?
Me, Gamsu has to be the answer. I think
Mhm.
Gamsu's seeming like the most well put together players, but overall, it was a stomp both ways. So it has to be up to
Yep.
game 3 to see, the consistency factor.
Okay. Incon?
So it's really funny that you bring up Gamsu, because I think Gamsu was I don't want to use the word liability, that's being harsh. I think Gamsu put himself in a really difficult position game 1 under his own volition with how he played Wave 2, which I talked about. Um, it's really hard to answer, because I think, like, I don't want to say, like, it has to be, I think it has to be the support. It'd have to be the supports, because I highlighted how the supports moved at, really good timers and had, like, really good thought. They each kind of have their own unique int moments. But you don't know the communication that's going on within a team, so it's hard to say if it's, inting or not. But I think really see how the supports interact with the other two waves outside of just their lane. Sorry, the other lanes, just outside just their lane. This upcoming game, I think. I'd probably have to say it's the supports if I had to choose one.
Okay.
Also, mid lane has been pretty neutral. I think both games, like, it really has been, like, really not too big of a deal, and then, like, one of them just kind of, like, pops off in the mid game, like Leo 99 on the Vex, and then, like, Rise, which is kind of pumping out damage last game. So
Absolutely. You know what? I want to hear more about what you guys have to say, but I also know that we're in the draft, so I'm going to leave it to you two guys to cover the draft, and I'll be in to sort of toss us out of it, but I want to hear what your big brains have to say going into game 3.
awesome. Yeah. What I will say, as we transition, is I'm hoping to see more of, like, a well-rounded scaling comp from both drafts. Right.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of performing under pressure, that's kind of where Blue Team cracked in last game. They had the mid-jungle aggressive early game, they didn't get it through, and then the game broke.
Yeah. I think I'm trying to remember what draft lost first game.
Here we are.
I'm gone.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what draft lost first game, but I think a team that tries to play for early game is just going to inevitably lose. So I think looking for more of, like, a mid-rangey comp that scales to, like, 2 items is going to be the team that ends up winning this game. So that's really what I'm looking for in draft here, is just what team is better at 2 items. Again, Yunbee ban,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, the bans are kind of across the board. They all make sense. The Trinimir, the Jace, very strong early game picks.
Olaf is a little interesting.
Yeah, I don't like the Olaf as much, especially with the Zenzao, the Viego. You kind of got a lot of options in the jungle. It doesn't feel like Olaf is a one-sided character.
That'd be interesting. Depending on who plays it, that could be 3-way flex, but you probably want that going to solo lane if it's getting, like, oh no.
We're back to the Kiana first pick.
So Lee Sin's banned, so it might be okay. I'm trying to think if there's, like, another pick that you can maybe find access to reveal it. LeBlanc chain would possibly reveal it, so if you're looking for, like, an outside source, that could be it. Lee Sin's banned, which would be, like, the first knee jerk that I would go to.
Yeah, the draft kind of seems counterintuitive. The Lee Sin and the TF were banned by red side, but then the Kiana's picked by blue. So they kind of countered themselves.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why Kiana B1 here is good.
Yeah.
I guess that's why they banned the Olaf too. They're really just hoping to get the Kiana, so maybe it's just a misread.
Yeah, that seemed to work out. The 1-2 here from red side is it's not weak, but it doesn't make sense together. The Zenzao and MF are both strong champions, but no real synergy.
Depending on what blue team actually drafts here, red team could get access to, like, a Braum, in which case it'd be really good. I don't know if that's just a no pick.
Yeah, I am not sure.
I think it's just a timeout pick, so we'll have to see. But yeah, blue team has to not draft themselves into a Braum pick. The LeBlanc.
Yep.
Okay. So LeBlanc Kiana, right?
Strong early game again. So we'll have to
Risky,
see how it works out.
but again, Ezreal here for the scaling, so it's a good way to kind of like, have that piece to fall back to. But again, you draft yourself into the Vex on R3, so very very dangerous draft from blue side. Again, you didn't draft yourself into the Braum, but you draft yourself into the Vex, so a little disappointing.
Yeah. I think going into second rotation, a lot of both teams are going to have a lot of volatility in their drafts, and the support picks are going to be very important, as you said. Because if one of the support gets out of lane, especially I'm thinking for red side with the MF push, it's going to be very hard to deal with for the Kiana and not being able to breathe around the map.
So I actually like red team banning the Braum here. I think they just want like a Leona or something here on the 4. And then because you don't want to save top counter pick, right, for Srtty, obviously. So you have to pick support. You're not gonna blind Braum because it's just terrible. So I actually like the Braum ban. You're just looking for like a Leona, which Leona would work pretty well with the rest of your comp. So blue team recognizes that.
Very good ban.
Leona. Yep. So now red team has kind of an interesting issue. You definitely don't want Rel. I'd hate to see Rel come through.
I would like to see Nautilus come through. I think that's the champion that seems obvious to me. Synergy with the MF and strong early game to run with Xin Zhao.
Yeah, Nautilus might be okay. Yeah. I mean, it's probably your best in tanky engage. I think it's really risky. If blue team picks Tark here, it's very dangerous. You're set up for a very difficult situation. I actually would love to see Tark.
Yeah, I like the Tarek idea. I think in general, it's about the spacing that they're going to have. They don't want to go into the Xin Zhao, the Nautilus, very close range champions.
Yeah,
Even
I mean,
with the MF ulti backing them up.
Yeah, Tark has insane synergy with the first 3 picks too, right? Kiana incredibly mobile, can get the stun. LeBlanc incredibly mobile, but doesn't matter. I'm talking about a pick that doesn't matter. We lock in the Alistar. That's fine. Enemy team really doesn't have percent health damage, so pretty good pickup. It's disengage, creates more space for your Ezreal LeBlanc, quite flexible. LB, sorry, I actually should mention this. LB Ezreal at the same time is actually quite good because LB is probably the best mid laner at challenging the Ezreal. So it's a good takeaway while also having really good synergy. We pick Kennen here, in my opinion. I think Sylas is a really good R5 here.
Really yeah, absolutely. Even with the matchup is Sylas favored, so I don't see anything else, honestly.
Yeah, I think Sylas would just be the R5 here. Yeah.
Yep,
and there we go. Locked in. I think it's just really good. I think it's a really good find.
So to me, the important thing about this game is going to be the cannon flanks. If the cannon can actually get flanks, good wards with the good TPs, as you talked about earlier, it's going to be really game-winning. But if the Sylas can kind of just get away with stealing good ultis, stealing the Alistar ulti, getting in there, it's going to be very tough for blue side.
The really accidental thing that blue team drafted themselves into by picking that Kennen is you have Sylas with Kennen ulti with Nautilus Misfortune. That's not very fun to play against. As a player staring that down, you're not very happy, especially when you do have kind of like a shorter range comp where they went, the Alistar Kennen, who kind of plays like a weird melee form, even though he is ranged, right? Because of the way he has to get in for his ulti. You have LeBlanc who has to eventually go melee range to deal damage with her W. So really interesting. And then, I was talking about, champions that can really get access to the Ezreal. Sylas is actually one of the few champions that can because he has the terrain scaling to match the Ezreal. So Sylas was a really good pick, not just because of the ultis that are up, but because of his way to latch onto that AD. So I really liked it. I was really a big fan.
Absolutely. And in terms of overall comps, I think both teams are going to be playing in the chokes. The Cannon really wants everyone to be grouped up, so does the Misfortune. It's going to be a lot of wombo combos, Alistar flanks, Cannon flanks. And so I'm really excited to see how they play the map, how they play TPs, which is what you touched on earlier.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Whichever team gets set up on the objective first is likely going to be the team that doesn't just get the objective, but then also wins the fight. The caveat there is, if a team doesn't fully sweep vision and they miss a ward when they're setting up and whatnot, and either the Sylas or the Kennen gets, that TP flank, it's literally just game deciding. So, there's a lot of pressure on the neutral objective setup, but I am happy both teams drafted a bit more scaling. So really what I was talking about was, you can't just all in on the early game, and I think both teams kind of recognize that, so their drafts were adapted a little bit, so I was personally happy to see that. I think this game is a bit more neutral going into level 1, at least compared to the last game.
I absolutely agree with you. And in terms of scaling and in terms of melee supports, kind of having the option to roam around, both teams are way more balanced this game, and I think we should have a way closer games than either of the ones before.
Yeah, if you had to put your stake on a team that could win, who are you taking? 1-1, who's gonna win everything with these drafts? What do you think?
It's a tough one. I would have to say red team.
It's very tough, which is why I offloaded it onto you.
Yeah, no, I think the Silas pick is just really insane. It was a really good look from you, a really good scout, and it's just going to be about the chokes, as I said, the Silas and the Nautilus taking over.
Yeah, I think, so I agree with red for you. However, I think there's a way for Kiana Kennen to find really good looks to win fights. I think, right, if you're a fan of people who are in blue team, or if you're a fan of people who are in red team, I think you can find a way for either team to win. What I do want to say is, talking about ease of execution, I think ease of execution goes to red team, which at this kind of level, I usually favor the team with ease of execution, and the scaling is a little bit better, I think, on red team, especially because you really don't have a way to kill the Silas. You don't really have that percent HP access, because the most access you get to that is like the Ezreal, for example, and that's not super reliable. So
I think you have a great point on ease of execution, because the Alistar and the Ken needs flank, as we talked about, and the Kiana is also kind of a combo champion. So if they don't get the right synergies and the right positioning, it's going to be very hard for them. But it has to be said that these are very good players. So even if they don't have experience to play together as a group of 5, they all know what it's like to be a part of a team. And I think it can, as I said, go either way, but my vote's on red.
Yeah, I think what I do want to say is we did highlight that, the Silas matchup is actually pretty good for Kennen. Kennen can go awkward openings. Like, Kennen could start like a longsword triple pot and just make the game very unplayable for Silas in the early game. There's ways for, I think, each of these lanes to derive an early game lead that can then carry them into the mid game and can possibly open the game up completely. So again, if you're looking for like ways for teams to win, there's unique openings that these teams can go to try and get access to that, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dia, if you want to cut in here
Yeah.
and send us away.
Yeah, this is my specialty. All right, you guys have set this up perfectly. Thank you so much. And, well, with that, I guess we're going to toss it over to the casters. So thanks so much, guys, and we will see you on the Rift.
Thank you.
Thank you.
summing up all the fortune of the realm. Call on our saviors to wipe out the traitors. The earth trembles as we gather ashore for the lands we swear to hold. For our kingdom
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry about the wait there, but we are back onto the Rift for game number 3. As Team RBM going to take it back to the blue side, fresh off a win in game number 2. And Team Fanatiik back on the red side, going to be looking to repeat the game number 1 performance, including this Vex. We saw have a pretty good game number 1, and who is exchanging some pleasantries with Yunbee here in the mid lane for the level 1 here.
Wholesome little dance-off happening in the mid lane there between Yunbee and Leo. The respect between the two of the players. But here comes Winter. Oh, okay.
Leo. Yeah, I was gonna say Leo puts in an auto there, breaks the truce, gets returned on by Winter, and yeah, some may say this is non-competitive, but you know, by the way, ignore the scores on the top. It is 1-1. Some may say the dance competition is non-competitive, but League of Legends competitive has a strong history of dance competitions. The season 1 World Championship started off with a 5-man dance competition in the mid lane.
Yep.
It's something to be well respected and is a proud tradition here in this sport.
The Nayram dance off, and really, if you're the person that breaks that, if you're the one who goes against the code and decides to attack first, you are public enemy number 1. So I think it's kind of respected that everybody goes for the dance off in the mid lane, especially on the last game of the day. Exactly. It's just not just get blacklisted forever. No one will ever pick you up if you break the code. Now, the big thing I'm looking forward to here is going to be the mid lane. Obviously, a repeat of game number 1, but also my favorite pick here is the Sylas R5. I'm a big, I said it earlier, I am a salesman of picking Sylas into anybody picking Alistar if he's up. Just because Sylas and Alistar is great. You push R on him, then you push R again, and you just don't die. Kingslayer keeps you alive forever. But all in all, just Sylas into Kennen is a really good matchup as well. So mid and top are going to be my go-tos here for scouting out and seeing how this game is going to be dictated, because that's kind of how the game has been played in the past too.
Yeah, a great collection of ultimates to snatch away here for Srtty in this game number 3. Very happy that he was able to lock on down that Sylas. Meanwhile, Leo was able to do very well up against Yunbee in game number 1. We'll see if he's able to repeat that performance now in game number 3. It is going to be the same matchup. Pockus taking a bunch of damage in the bottom lane, though, going aggressively onto Winter, but going to be forced to flash back at the end of the day. It's going to be Ignite for Flash and Exhaust. Definitely a win there for the blue side. Meanwhile, Leo getting engaged on here. Going to be forced to flash away. Goes for the fear. Not going to land it onto RBM. Yunbee taken incredibly low here. Is going to try to snare on up Fanatiik. He lands the wind, becomes lightning. He dashes forward. Not quite enough to finish him off, though. First blood gets picked up by RBM. And now the dive in the bottom lane here at level 3. The opposing bot lane really wants to pick this one on up. Blue side trying to finish it down. Is going to be able to get the kill onto Wixxi there. Now moves forward onto Pockus, looking to finish him off too. Winter and Array, the established duo, coming up huge here in game number 3. They get themselves 2 kills, and now a teleport coming through onto him. They might just go for the executes.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an execute, though. Yeah, they're going to give that to Nautilus. Leo will pick up this one as well. Man, unfortunate on Fanatiik there. Flashes forward with the auto attack. Thought the one auto was going to do it. Needed one more to finish off Yunbee, who had that corrupting pot still ticking, though. So was still able to survive a little bit longer. Able to get out scot-free. Plays it very well in the mid lane with the help of that gank from RBM, who is now topside, potentially looking to go onto Srtty.
Yeah, definitely here. Srtty, though, playing it safe, backing up under his turret, not quite vulnerable enough to be dove here. Kiana, Kennen, neither one has the aftershock, not quite tanky enough to really force this dive through, especially through the mobility and the sustain available to Sylas. That Kingslayer really going to keep him alive up against anything like that. We will survive for the time being, and is instead just trying to farm it on out here. Having a little bit of trouble in the early game with this range versus melee matchup, but that's to be expected. He'll be able to make it back up later on. He just goes on in aggressively with the Kingslayer, though. Gets some nice trading done. Meanwhile, Fanatiik's getting collapsed on in the jungle. He's going to get snared on. He's going to get rooted on. Fear comes through from Leo to try to keep his jungler alive. They turn it back onto RBM. He's going to end up falling on down. Now Leo running interference, keeping the opposing team away from his jungler. Doing it successfully as well. Now Pockus coming around from the side. Going to cut these guys off. Leo gets snared on up. It gets the Fear back up to move away Winter. Dredgeline comes on through. Yunbee going to finish off the kill onto Leo. Yunbee going to finish off the kill onto Fanatiik as well. The red side's bitten off more than they can chew. and they've lost several kills back over to the side of Yunbee. And finally, in game number 3, the LeBlanc gets off to a strong early start.
You could not have asked for a better start for Yunbee there, who just kind of, I don't know. But yeah, Yunbee getting to be exactly where he needs to be at this point in the game. 5.5 minutes in, 2-0-1, sitting on a decent chunk of change, about 1160 in the bank right now, and that is what we needed in really all 3 games. LeBlanc has been picked up. Have not seen this kind of lead being garnished. Usually 0-0-0 at 15 minutes, and now fight topside.
Yeah, stolen away ultimate there from the Kennen, going to protect Srtty for just a little bit, but it's going to force the flash out from the side of Gamsu to keep him alive. Now they're looking to maybe chase farther underneath the turrets. Gamsu trying to create some distance, has RBM there for the backup. They are going to be able to escape. Nobody else going to end up going on down here. Srtty, though, fighting it out, almost getting the kill there in the 1-versus-1 up against Kennen.
Yeah, very nice fight up top there. Or just to say, Gamsu getting out alive, able to flash away. Done very nicely for himself. The only problem is I can't see the timers on the ultimates or really anything, unfortunately, because of the spectator bug. Because I don't know when the ultimate's up or if it's up. So gets out. We did see Srtty stealing that ultimate. Almost got the full channel off on it onto Gamsu. Unfortunately, did not. RBM doing very nicely as far as kiting it out, be able to walk away, and then once the ultimate was over, dash right back in to try and fight. But not really grabbing anything further from that. Everybody just going back to their respective lanes now. No more hard invades, no more dive potentials on the top side. Now, moving back into the bot side, we're going to be seeing that Ocean Drake up yet again. 3 games in a row, Ocean has been either first or second Drake, so we'll see how that ends up working out for both of these teams, and if we see, for the 3rd time in a row, a Cloud Soul.
Very well, Knight here. It's still on the tables. The Ocean Drake going to be the first one spawning on up. Mid lane going to get pushed on in there by Yunbee as he moves with his team to take control over this opposing blue side jungle. Trying to force Fanatiik out from his own camp. Pockus going to be the target to get engaged on first. Actually, Winter dives forward onto Fanatiik. The stun comes on through. The damage comes through as well. The flash over the wall is not successful. That means Fanatiik very likely going to go on down here, but the damage isn't quite available. He's just walking on away. Now RBM going to get engaged on. He falls on down to Leo. Fanatiik still staying alive. Dashes over the wall, trying to get here on to the side of Array. Has not been able to finish him on off yet, but Yunbee going to finish off the kill on the Fanatiik. Yunbee now heading for the hills. Leo going to fall on down to the side of Array. They're turning this all around now. Wixxi going to get the trade kill back at the end of the day. Pockus going to pick up on the Winter as well, and it's going to be a 2-for-2, I think, at the end of all of it. 2-for-3. Respawns are already coming on through for the red side, but a very close fight in the blue side jungle.
I think you were correct on the 2-for-2 there. Very well played from both sides. A nice invade coming through. Not quite being as successful as they wish it would have been, because if it was a little bit more successful, they would have been able to turn back around, move right onto that Drake, which is still alive. Nobody really jockeying around it yet. The only vision that's on that right now is the Skull Crab, so I'd like to see one of these teams either get a ward in the pit or in front to spot out whether or not it's going to be started up here. 8.5 minutes in, moving on to 9. I'd imagine the streak will be down by 10. Rift Herald probably falling soon after. But right now it really is going to be those neutral objectives that we should be seeing the fights around. But up top, Gamsu taking full advantage over his range advantage with what he has top, and he might be going for a kill.
Be incredibly low here, going to be forced to flash away in response to the slicing Maelstrom. Now Winter going for the dive here in the bottom lane, tanks up the turret with the Aftershock, trying to lock down on a Wixxi here. They almost finish him off and do manage to do so. Meanwhile, Vax to the top lane, Leo roams on up and finishes off that kill. Pockus has been able to trade back as well. It's a 2-for-1 across the map. Gamsu ends up falling on down to Leo. Now Pockus is in a 1-versus-3 in this bottom lane turret, going to get dove here pretty soon, trying to trade back onto Winter, but the lockdown's too good. Yunbee going to be able to pick up that shutdown, and more turret plates going over to the blue side.
That it was a great fight all in all, top side and bot side going down, and a really nice dive there with the help of RBM showing up on the bot. Going to be trying to take out that blue, ends up doing it on RBM. I thought it was going to be taken by Wixxi, unfortunately not. But now in the top side, Fanatiik sitting top with that Rift Herald in hand. Going to be popping that. Should be first tower going down to the red team here. A nice little chunk of gold going into their pockets. They are down 1.4k, but they're going to even that out to just about 900 gold.
Yunbee 4-0-2 on this LeBlanc. Now coming to the bottom lane to try to make it a 5th. Going on to Wixxi here. RBM going to be the one who ends up picking up that kill. But Yunbee has finally done what nobody else in this series has managed to do so far. He's gotten ahead on the LeBlanc. Now he's transitioning this lead all over the map, continuously picking up kills for RBM's squad.
And this is really what we wanted to see in the 2 games that we just saw LeBlanc get played in. Now she's got that Dark Seal 6 stacks put onto this LeBlanc here. It could be very dangerous if they're unable to keep her in check. RBM getting very close to dying to this Drake. But thankfully, we're going to see Winter show up here and has the smite available. It's finally going to go down. They're going to go ahead and get a reset here. First Drake was Ocean. Second Drake is Fire. We're seeing a big repeat of game number 1. TP into the mid for Leo. Now, Leo needs to kind of just work their way back into this game just by farming. The fight hasn't really worked out for him. 3-2-2 now into the 4-0-3, like you said, of this LeBlanc, down about 10 CS here. So Leo needs to start using the range to their advantage, try to get this farm, try to poke out Yunbee a little bit more, and really watch out for RBM, because RBM has been all over this map.
Yeah, for sure here. Going to have to play a little bit safer than he did in game number 1 now that Yunbee has all this bonus gold in his pocket. Leo's still pretty adept in the 1-versus-1 up against the LeBlanc, but just so far has not been able to make stuff work out. He does have access to the fear, so he could save it for the personal space to interrupt any kind of dash there. A lot of champions would have ended up dying in that situation. The distortion damage would have come through, would have procced the electrocute, would have possibly finished on off, but he can't distort forward because of the threat of that personal space and the fear coming on through from the Doom and Gloom.
Yeah, that is a main issue with the Vex being on the board, is you really cannot just fully engage on her as a LeBlanc or as a Kiana because of the personal space. Now everybody's sitting around this Dragon Pit, a big fight going on, and it looks like it's going to be started up onto Winter's TP.
Yeah, Srtty coming on through here, going to be able to pick up that kill on to Winter. Does still have access to the hijack as well to potentially look for a little bit more. It's just going to be that kill on the opposing support. Picked up around the Dragon Pit there. Everybody going to return to their lanes. Meanwhile, it is going to be Gamsu picking up some gold, picking up some plates in the top lane. That was a big resource committed from Srtty. He is going to pay for it at least a little bit in the form of that turret plate.
Yeah, Gamsu will find 2 turrets up there, 2 turret plates, I should say, up there. Still has the TP available. Not sure if he's going to use it to get back to lane or if he'll save it for potentially another fight that may open up on the bot side of the map and just walk his way up there. Scuttle Crab available on the top side as well. Should be seeing Fanatiik move up to that, try to get the vision around there, because we do have another Rift Herald coming up in about 2.5 minutes. See if he goes for that right away, because we do have the Dragon up at just about the same time. It's going to be 10 seconds after the Rift Herald spawning. And that's going to be the Infernal Drake. That's really big for both of these teams, because the teams rely heavily on the amount of damage they have. No real heavy tanks sitting on the board except for the Nautilus or the Alistar, but they're not looking to do damage.
Certainly are not here. Is going to be the group up in the mid lane coming through from the red team, trying to cover Leo as he goes for this reset. It's going to get it on across. Want to make sure that they're not going to get sieged on too heavily here, as they want to keep that mid lane turret alive. 3 members here rotating on through. Winter especially could go for a pick here on this Alistar. Got to keep an eye on that headbutt pulverize combo. Maybe potentially locking on down. So much single target damage available here for this blue side comp. Could potentially pick off anybody. Pockus might be the target here. Yunbee gonna jump on back. Pockus take it down to about half HP. There is no follow-up available though. RBM went up to the top river to take that Scuttle Crab. And the Pockus not gonna end up going on down.
Yeah, and Gamsu not available there to try to help turn on that fight. Was resetting to go back into the bot lane here now that that tower has fallen. Gonna swap, send LeBlanc or Yunbee up into the top side here. Try to get a little bit more gold. Try to finish off that tower potentially there, as Gamsu gonna take at it yet again with Srtty here. We'll see. I'm not sure who wins in the 1v1 situation anymore. Both level 10. Kennen still has the ultimate available, but Srtty going in.
Srtty going for the 1-versus-1 here. Has not hijacked anything as of yet. That's going to be the whole slicing Maelstrom coming on across, though. Fanatiik now in a 1-versus-3, just getting chunked on out, getting taken down by Gamsu. It's going to be Srtty stealing away the Unbreakable Will, focusing on keeping himself alive as he's already lost his jungler. They're going to be forced to back on away.
Yeah, he's going to have to reset here. Drake up in 40 seconds, Rift in 30. We're going to see Wixxi and Pockus still in the mid lane here. Both summoners available. The bullet time is available, but we don't have the depth charge from Pockus. So no real setup for a fight if it comes through to look for that kill, because Winter on that Alistar is just going to look for a headbutt, pulverize, and completely stop that bullet time. Everybody's setting up on the bot side now. The only person up top is going to be Gamsu, but he has a TP available.
Oh, a hook landed there onto the side of Array. He's going to try to dash on out of there, take it out so low. Finally, it's going to be the kill picked up by Leo, snatching it away at the last moment. Going to get the reset on his ultimate off that as well. Right as the Dragon spawns, too. This is perfect timing for the red side, trying to claim themselves a little bit of something in the Dragon game.
Yeah, that's really big there. I guess you don't really need the depth charge when you can just hit a dredge line under a tower with no minions around. We see Array walking forward just a little bit too far, ends up going down for it. Another potential fight in the bot side. It's a 4v3 with ultimate on the depth charge available, but nothing from Leo, Fanatiik, or on Wixxi.
Yeah, there is still going to be Srtty hanging around in the wings. As he dashes forward, doesn't manage to land on anybody. Depth charge going to come on across here pretty soon. You've got to believe. Scream display of talent tries to lock down everybody. Winter getting melted right through his ultimate. Yunbee now going to be the next target. He tries to dash on away as well. Srtty is just so tanky here on this Silas with the Unbreakable Will. Dashes over the wall, gets himself onto Yunbee's clone. Not going to be able to finish it though, and now that's going to be the dash forward from RBM. He's looking to get this fight to keep it ongoing. Doesn't have the Scream display of talent though. Flash forward, coming on through from the side of Gamsu, trying to get the stuns on across, but no slicing Maelstrom to speak of. The trade's back, coming back and forth, as that's going to be Wixxi falling on down, as well as two members of the blue team. It's going to be Gamsu and RBM taken off the map. The Dragon's already started on up by the side of Fanatiik, and he's going to let it reset as he's hanging out here in the river, ready to re-engage if the fight keeps going.
That TP flash slicing Maelstrom was great coming through from Gamsu. Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough damage to follow up. The damage had already been done from the entire red side. As we do see a TP coming through from Leo onto this Drake, and looks like Array caught in the back of this pit. Yunbee potentially looking for a steal or a kill over the wall if he chooses to do so.
Yeah, should be a little bit hard to get. He goes for the steal, doesn't get it. Fanatiik, too quick on the smite there, is going to pick up one dragon for his side, as we're going to tie that objective up. And it is going to be a Mountain Soul. It's not going to be the Cloud Soul for the first time this series, Fury.
Finally something different here. Although the Mountain, not the best, but still it's something different, right? A little bit more tankiness going to be going on to these teams, but no one really going to be utilizing that except for realistically Srtty when he has the Alistar ultimate, Pockus and Alistar himself. Now, no neutral objective except for the Rift Herald on the board, so we'll probably see these teams start to shift their way into the top side after potentially looking for a dive onto Gamsu.
He's stolen away the slicing Maelstrom, going to channel it there, gets the stun, follows it up with Dredge Line. Nicely played dive here from the red side. They're going to pick up that kill onto Gamsu. Now they're going to claim the bot lane outer turret as well. They get themselves back into the game, get some more gold in their pockets, and are not even close to out of it yet. Gold lead within 1K.
Now we're seeing Array try to take up this tower in danger, though. Gets down to about a third of his health. Dex to go in.
That is going to be the engage coming on through here. Nice bullet time comes on across, but he's not going to land on anybody. Now Leo going to be the first one to get taken on down there by that barrage from the side of Ezreal. Next one to fall is going to be Array. He gets taken on down by a nice little poke there from Fanatiik. RBM is sticking in his stealth, trying to hide, trying to escape, but really has nowhere left to go. Gonna get stunned on up there by the Everfrost, taken on down by Srtty. So it's a big fight win there for the red team. They get 3-2 up in the lead.
Yeah, very nice use of that Everfrost there. Of note, 2 Dark Seals fully stacked to 10, 1 at 5 at the moment. Silas and LeBlanc sitting at 10. We'll see if they turn that into a full-on Medjai. This will be a little bit risky if they choose to do so, but in game number 3, when it really all comes down to this, where it's 1-1, probably the best time to do it. But both of them very strong right now. 6-0-4 on this LeBlanc, 4-0-2 on the Silas. Now it really comes down to who's going to have the most damage in the ensuing team fights, because Yunbee has been really dueling it out in this game, getting in, melting somebody, and getting right back out. Where on the other side of that, we're seeing Srtty get in, melt people, and still be able to stay in that fight and be extremely tanky and healthy. Yunbee gets that blue stolen away from by Fanatiik.
Fanatiik just snuck in there and snatched it away. Is now once again Srtty going aggressively here, this time up against the Yunbee. Knows that the distortion is down, gets the flash as well. Not going to quite be able to finish on off the kill, but still feeling pretty good here up in this 1 versus 1. Is now Fanatiik and Pockus are here to try to keep this going. Distortion is now blown. Here comes Fanatiik looking for the engage, not quite going to find it. Meanwhile, the outer turret rather gets taken on down by the side of Array. Blue team still with control over the map, claiming themselves a little bit something in the objective game. Srtty now getting locked down by Yunbee in the 1 versus 1. That's the electrocute proc. Yunbee low on mana, but should have enough to finish off this kill onto Srtty. Gets it shut down in the 1 versus 1 there. Yunbee 7-0-4 on the LeBlanc, continuing to make plays happen.
Talked about whoever's going to be going down first. That's where the decision's going to lie in the power spike here, and it looks like it's going to be Yunbee with the solo kill on to Srtty with the help of the tower shots that he had there. Now everybody getting ready around this Baron here. We're having the vision being swept by RBM, getting some vision down of his own as well. Array picking up some chickens for himself. No objectives on the board means everybody just wants to farm as much as they can until those objectives come back up. Get ready for those backs and get some more items under their belt here. That Medjais has been finished by Yunbee. Opted to go for the full-on Medjais here. So now it's going to be the big decision of who he's going to be going for in these fights, and whether or not he can get locked up fast enough by the red side in order to shut him down before he gets any more of those stacks going.
For sure here, Winter trying to scan on out, but might find himself face-to-face with multiple members of the red side, as that's actually going to be RBM, the one possibly getting the turnaround here. So much damage already coming through onto Srtty. He's forced to flash away. He gets the unstoppable or the unbreakable will, rather, but he still will not quite be able to keep the fight going. That's a big slicing maelstrom coming on through from Gamsu. Finishes off onto Fanatiik, gets Leo locked down as well. A double kill picked up for Yunbee. Array going to get himself in there as well. Gets his name on the kill on Pockus. 3 for 0 for the blue team now, as they're going to have full control over this dragon spawning in just about 10 seconds.
Absolutely huge. This is the closest game of the night here. Extremely back and forth, but now blue side starting to really garner that lead, get themselves into this and trying to become unstoppable. Now 3k, almost a 4k gold lead in their pockets, and they don't even care about the dragon. They're going straight for the Baron.
They are indeed, and that should be a big purple buff going on over to the side of the blue team. Nobody really available to test this from the red. They're just going to head towards Dragon instead. Wixxi should be able to start this one on off. Has Srtty for backup if they need it. Everybody else coming on down as well. They will go up 2 Drakes to 1, but they have lost the Baron buff, and that is not a trade that you're happy with.
Definitely not, especially not when the team getting it is actually very far ahead at this point. Regardless of what the scoreline looks like, a 5k gold lead is nothing to scoff at. 9-0-4 on a LeBlanc is certainly nothing to scoff at either. Yunbee getting in and out of these fights virtually unscathed, especially in that last one. They picked up 3 kills, and I think he was hit by maybe 1 double up from the side of Wixxi there, and he was able to dash right back out. So red team has a lot cut out for themselves. They need to make sure they are locking down Yunbee in these fights. The problem is they still have RBM and Gamsu with these AoE ultimates that are locking them down, so it's very hard for them to really pick and choose who they're wanting to go after in these fights.
Certainly is here, as this is still got to be our closest matchup of the night so far.
For sure.
Definitely not out of it are the red squad, but blue team has that purple buff, are in control, are bursting through this mid inner turret. They get the bot inner turret as well. 2 back-to-back picked on up there. LeBlanc splitting in the bottom lane. Yunbee pretty much untouchable here. Going to dash away. Srtty going to try to get it, even though it's going to be tough. Steals away the LeBlanc ultimate. Maybe not the team fighting tool that you're looking for. Goes in, tries to get on the LeBlanc, dashes forward, tries to get on the Yunbee. Yunbee's kind of stuck on the wrong side of the map now. Srtty trying to finish this one off. Throws on down the Q, but the gank comes on through. RBM finishes off Srtty there. Protects his mid laner, protects the Magi stacks, protects the killing spree, and now is in a 5 versus 4, trying to move forward onto Fanatiik. True Shot Barrage comes on across, doesn't land. Teleport coming on back. Yunbee back in the mix now, is going to be here for this 5 versus 4 as the siege continues with the Baron buff.
If you are Srtty, you hate that there. If you are Yunbee, you are praising your jungler. RBM coming in clutch, saving Yunbee's life in that situation. They're going to take another tower, and they're going to grab an inhib for their troubles as well. Potentially even a second inhib in the mid lane. Here's Pockus gets absolutely deleted.
Yeah, landed a little dredge line there on the, I think it was a minion, maybe it was even the destroyed
It was either
turret.
minion or the, I think,
Completely
inhib.
one shot, as you said. Doesn't have a moment to react, can't flash, can't exhaust, can't depth charge, can't do anything. And now it's going to be off the map for another 15-ish seconds as the blue side is going to go for the reset.
Yeah, still no objectives on the board here except for going into the jungle, but Yunbee,
after all the work that RBM puts in to save his life, might find himself getting a little bit caught here. But once again, expends the flash, expends the distortion, still has the ultimate, will be able to get out of here.
looks like it. They're going to have to give up that chase. Yunbee resets too much. The distortion, way too fast for them to catch up on him there. And I mean, flash for keeping your 24 stacks, I think, is a pretty decent trade-off at this point, because if you're able to keep those 24 stacks, get in, do damage, get out, you really shouldn't need flash. But regardless, still got caught out going after the red buff of all things. He's going to get his blue buff this time around. Fanatiik not there to steal that out from underneath him. 2 minutes on the next dragon will be the next neutral objective on the board for anybody to fight around, but I don't know that red has the resources to fight for this next Drake, because if they do, they leave their base wide open, and then blue side are able to just run right through either mid or bottom to potentially end the game.
That is certainly the risk here. 90 seconds to go on this next dragon would put the red team on sole point. But fighting their way over to it's certainly going to be very rough, as they've lost 2 inhibitors here. Fanatiik just bursted through RBM there in the top lane. We missed that play, but just was able to get that kill, and now to 5 versus 4 in favor of the red side. They get the pick that they were looking for, and this might be their opportunity to be favored in a fight. They just have to find the right angle. Fanatiik getting hit by a big shot over the wall there, though. The engage coming through anyway. Yunbee dashing in and out, trying to get some damage on across. That's going to be Srtty channeling the ultimate, getting them very low. That's going to be the ultimate coming through from Leo. He's got the resets, he's got the burst. He's trying to finish him off, but he gets taken down by Yunbee, who goes legendary here, finishing off the opposing mid laner. They've already lost their way onto their bot lane, though. It is going to be a 1-for-2 after that fight, with RBM still waiting to respawn. Srtty defending the base here, but red team holds.
This Kennen, despite being behind in CS, kills, assists, still is a major threat, able to just dash in with the Proto Belt and then immediately use a Slicing Maelstrom, lock down as many people as he can, and nobody can follow up on the engage on that. Yunbee gets in, does a massive amount of damage, even with RBM still being off the board. Array getting those combos in as well. Nobody can get close enough to the blue side here to be able to try to contest these fights, except for Leo, who went in, got a nice double fear, but was deleted by Yunbee instantly. Now this dragon's up, blue side has control over it, and red just trying to pull themselves back into this game, trying to stop these siege of minions.
Indeed, they are here. The red team not going to be able to contest for this dragon. It is going to get picked up here by the blue side. It's going to tie it up at 2-2. Nowhere near a soul now for either side. Likely to see this game end before either team's able to claim it.
Yep.
So now we are going to see Winter coming forward here, frontlining for his team, trying to take control of this red side jungle for the red team. Looks like they are going to be able to. Just nobody really willing to take these fights at this time. Everybody on the red side resetting here. Now Baron going to be spawning on up here, and RBM has just claimed the Scuttle Crab and is ready to get the Purple Worm started.
They should start this up instantly. Red side just clearing out vision right now. Winter is standing on a ward, so they may look to just initiate right away. Fanatiik, there comes a TP as well. They're getting set up here. It's a full 5-on-5 now.
Yeah, Srtty's stolen away the Unbreakable Will once again. We've been talking about it all game, as that's going to be the engage onto Fanatiik. He's forced to use the Crescent Guard to try to stay alive is going to be able to, but is chunked down to just about 1/3 HP. Really going to be rough to try to get your way into the Baron pit with your jungler at such low HP. It's started on up once again by the blue team. Yunbee, Ray, and RBM are here on this objective. There's going to be the ultimate pop from the side of Srtty, going in for this engage, as is Leo. Shut down, picked up onto Yunbee. That's the major carry taken on down here. Now, what can Ray get done? He's kiting it back out, has not been able to get gotten onto by the side of Srtty. Is going to trade back onto him, but he goes for the stasis just in time. Meanwhile, they've lost out on their support on the other side. Ray fires back off a big true shot barrage through everybody. Not going to be able to pick up any kills, though. It's a 2-for-0 picked up by the red side. Their inhibitors are respawning, although they are getting their base hammered on by these super minions, and they still have to be worried about the Baron.
Yeah, thankfully that inhib did just respawn, so nothing else can be happening to those towers. But back onto the Baron are the blue side here. Red can actually contest, though, since there's no issue with the inhibs anymore. Base is no longer open. RBM is very low, as is Gamsu, and they're going to have to back right off of this Baron.
Absolutely. There, Leo and Srtty find their way onto Yunbee that fight. They shut him down. They get a whole bunch of gold in their pockets for it, as well as taking out a bunch of Magi stacks. Nicely played there is the key to the fight for the red side. So they're trying to fight their way back into this game. They've got their inhibitors back. They've defended against the loss of 2 of them, and now have another chance to fight for this Baron buff. Fanatiik going to find RBM here. They just back away from each other.
Yeah, that was a massive shutdown, so much so that they went from about a 6 to 7k gold deficit to only about a 3k deficit now, boiling over into about a 4k because of the CS that's being taken right now by the blue side. But still in this game, by no means completely out of it yet. It's looking grim for them, but another play like that where they're able to just take out Yunbee instantly, they should be able to continue on, but big fight starting up.
Yeah, it's going to be Slicing Maelstrom, stolen away for Srtty. A big true shot barrage, once again, going to chunk out everybody on the red team. Here comes the engage from Winter, finds his way onto Srtty. No Unbreakable Will available this time, but the Slicing Maelstrom is huge. Not onto anybody, though. Array going to be able to finish off that kill. Now, Fanatiik caught out all alone, goes for the Crescent Guard to try to stay alive. Dash inward from Array, just taking the 1v1 up against the opposing jungler here. Meanwhile, Gamsu has found his way onto the Vex, takes him out as well. It's only 2 members left alive for the red team. Can Wixxi and Pockus hold, or are they going to lose the game right here?
This should be the end of the game. No ultimates available on the bot side. They're going to grab up another inhib. This should be the team of Gamsu, RBM, Yunbee, Array, and Winter taking it for tonight, 2-1 overall. Another true shot barrage going to come through just to get some more poke out. And it looks like they're just going to escort these minions through, take out not just the first, but Yunbee is going to take out MF as well as Pockus, and then move right on to the Nexus with a very nice game. The closest game we've had all night. Very well played.
Team RBM going to claim that one here, as that is going to be a huge win for them. They are going to end up claiming the night 2-1. Super well played by everybody on that squad there, especially Yunbee here in this game number 3, getting massively fed on that LeBlanc. Only ends up giving up the shutdown once, but at that point, had already gotten his team in such a favorable position that they're able to come out with the W.
Yeah, exactly. Played that very well. Definitely the MVP in that game. It was very nice seeing the LeBlanc picked up and finally used the way the LeBlanc should be played, instead of just kind of farming in the early to mid game and not really doing much later on. That is what you want to see in LeBlanc, is what we just saw in this game.
All right, well, with that said, we're going to throw it back over to the analyst desk, and we will see you guys in just a short bit.
Oh my lord, guys, it has been so long. Ever since that one fateful draft right before Game 3, and what kind of horrific stuff. That was actually, it was terrifying to watch at some points in those games, but it had to build up to that point, and I want to throw it to you first, Hayami. How did we start the ball rolling?
You know, this ended up being a very, very sloppy games from both teams, and it started right off the bat. Fanatiik had a gank on the mid lane, which was kind of an overreach, and then he ended up dying on the backside of that. And the second play was on the bottom lane. There was a 2v2 dive from, I believe it was Array and Winter, who ended up getting cleaned up on the backside of that. and it was just bloody the whole way through.
I believe I got insider knowledge here that said Fanatiik's W flash on Kiana bugged. It hit him, but it didn't register for some reason. So LeBlanc lived with 1 HP on that gank due to what people think is a bug.
Oh, unfortunate.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
insider information that I received just now.
Okay, I'm trying to think if that changes the game. I mean,
No, the rest of it was all very bad.
yeah.
Yeah. I think there was too much sloppy play, but Yunbee did end up going huge in the game. So maybe if he got shut down in the early game, got a little bit less, because towards 5 minutes he got a double kill and double buffs, and that's when really things started going wrong for Red Team.
And hey, that's good, right? To be able to snowball the game to that extent. What are some things, though? I mean, when you say it's sloppy play, right? There are small errors that you can make where you're a little overzealous, but then there are the big ones.
yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so sometimes there's small errors, sometimes there's the error that, both teams have made 3 straight games where you just take a Rift Herald, take a tower, and then do nothing. Which we saw again this game. It was amazing. I love it. I love seeing just a broken record continue playing the same thing over and over again. And I hate saying the same thing over and over again, but again, genuinely, right, I was losing my mind watching the game. There were so many times where I thought Kennen could have just completely frozen the wave, completely taken a lane out of the game for the enemy team. He ended up kept pushing the wave back in. Now it turned out okay at some points, where he was able to push wave and get a tower when Silas ended up TPing for a dragon that wasn't going to be up for another 4 minutes. But Hyami brought this up too, where I forgot what play it was, but the TP flanks,
The
very
second
bad.
dragon, I believe.
Very not optimal. I was gonna say almost very bad, which is very not optimal. Kennen TPs to a ward that by the time he's coming down, the fight will be away from him, so he's forced to use Hextech and Flash in order to get into the fight, where if you look at the mini-map, there's actually a ward that on the enemy blue buff that he can come to, and then you sandwich the enemy team into you, so they're either forced to fight into your team, which is losing, or fight into you, which is also losing, so it just chokes out the enemy team. Again, it's not like, that's just like terrible game breaking, but it's like, if you want to talk about, playing optimally, they definitely wasn't optimal League of Legends.
Yeah, well, so I guess for both of you, Hayami, obviously you're a jungler, but I'm sure you have opinions on it. I want to talk about those TPs a little bit more, and I know it's difficult. It's going to be another one of those incon where you go, League of Legends is very situational, but talk to me about the TPs that you saw this game versus TPs that can provide a lot of value. Like, are there ways that we can identify either way, like when your TP is going to be super useful versus like quick shortcuts that perhaps in this case you could look at and go, well, it's clearly not useful here because this, and this.
I think to me it's as you said, very situational, but in general, most champions that want to utilize TP are utilizing it for flanks. So they want to get behind the enemy team and force a two-sided fight. And that's kind of what we weren't seeing in this game. As Incon said, the Kennen TP, I think, was in the pit or something this game, when it could have been a flank on the blue buff. And in general, sometimes they have the wards, but I don't think they have the coordination as a team to set up the wards together and then what the play means from that moving forward.
Incon?
Yeah, I think going off that is, I do want to be fair to these players. Again, I recognize that it is hard to, come together as 5 players in a competitive, situation. You don't know how other people communicate. You don't know how you're supposed to communicate with the team. So it can be hard to properly communicate these things. However, I think that's why it's important to look at things that like individual players can do, which is again like, how does an individual player identify TPs? How do they look for TPs? How does an individual player, manage their waves in order to avoid trouble relative to, jungler and whatnot? And I think like sometimes we just saw players kind of like gap out and whatnot, but we also saw players have really like brilliant connections. Again, for example, when we saw, Srtty and Fanatiik connect on, again, the top dive from the first game, where it was just really brilliant League of Legends, and it was really amazing just seeing 2 players come together that, hadn't really played before, and just come up with an absolutely brilliant play. So I think, like, again, it's very hard, but there were some just very just shining moments that I think were, really amazing. So, again, it's easy to harp on these players, but it's also easy, or it's harder to, you know, recognize great things. Like Yunbee had an absolutely amazing pop-off game where he was just an absolute menace for the other team to play with. So I just wanted to at least recognize those as much as like, you know, we can point out the bad as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because all of these players were playing well in the games. Individually, they had good moments, every single one of them, and
Yep.
most of the things that we're talking about are kind of big picture, macro, micro, kind of knowledge level of League of Legends, and it's not just base mechanics. It's very impressive what these players are able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. Yeah,
No,
like
please.
I was gonna say, like Leo99, for example, right? He had some amazing looks that were just very aggressive on the Vex, but it's like, you know, seeing a player that is pushing a champion that's only been out for like a month to very far limits, where he's just ulting in, getting like a 3-man fear off, and trying to get out. It's beautiful to watch. Watching an Alistar trying to hex flash flank onto 3, it's an amazing aggressive look to, you know, watch a player go for. Watching Pockus try and move around the map and try and find, you know, unique plays when behind. Fanatiik, when his team is just 5k gold behind, looking for aggressive plays in the jungle. They were doing very like thoughtful things that were just really amazing, and I think like, you know, small fixes will make these players very good, and it's something that like, you know, a team could, you know, at a high level, right, academy, right, could just look at and fix in a matter of like a week, but it's just something that lingers now. But you know, it's nothing that's like, you know, nothing these players did was like, oh well, you know, that player's just terrible, right?
Yeah.
That's really what I want to say. These players, like Yami said, like you've said, they did play very well, and they, you know, all did have shining moments. So I think that's a really positive takeaway.
For sure. I mean, time and synergy, right? Like once you put these people in a room for a while, like eventually you'll be able to talk about sort of how you view the game, what sorts of plays you like to go for. But the fact is that we're building off of very good blocks, and that's a great thing to highlight to close this out here at the Amateur Arena. So, Hayami Incon, thank you so much for joining me on the desk. For actually really carrying the desk, because you guys have some huge brains that I was happy to be able to hear the thoughts from. Thank you so much to our casters, for all the players for participating today, to production, and most importantly to all of you for tuning in to watch these guys play some great League of Legends. We will catch you next time on AoE's Amateur Arena.